across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good afternoon. I'm Mark Dolan, in for the brilliant Ian Collins. A very big show today and tomorrow. Have got the privilege of sitting in for Ian, and breaking this afternoon as the Prime Minister hits the unwelcome milestone of 70,000 illegal boat crossings since he won power. We can exclusively reveal on Talk that the number of illegal immigrants in taxpayer-funded accommodation for more than a year has risen by 40% since, you guessed it, Labour came to power. So my question to you this afternoon is a simple one. We know that illegal immigration is dangerous. We know it's expensive. We know it's dividing our society. We are stoking up problems for the future. So my question to you at 1:03 on a very sunny Thursday afternoon, is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Meanwhile, what's going on with Sir Keir Starmer's former Chief of Staff and the lost mobile phone containing crucial Peter Mandelson evidence? It's very convenient, isn't it? So is this the mother of all political cover-ups? Meanwhile, Nigel Farage storms out of the House of Commons after the Prime Minister once again refuses to answer the question, because Starmer never answers a question. Is he the most slippery Prime Minister in history? But what do you think about Farage walking out of the House of Commons? Is that a bold move, holding the PM to account, or is it the politics of the playground? And here we go again. Welcome to Bonkers Britain. The United Nations thinks that Britain should pay slavery reparations, and our own representatives, those representing the United Kingdom, did not vote against it. So has the establishment elite got a death wish against its own country? And praise the Lord, the BBC has a new boss, a new Director General. So my question to you, if they changed, if they did better programmes representing the whole country, if they weren't woke, if they celebrated the flag, if their comedies were funny again, and if the politics was neutral, could you ever go back to loving the BBC? Now, my priority for 3 hours is to put your opinions on the radio and on the telly. So my phone number is 0344 499 1000. I really want to talk to you today. Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Faith is taking your calls. Delighted to say she's been putting the show together with the brilliant, fabulous Finlay. It's a dream team, I've got to say. Directing our TV output is the one and only Luke. If you want to see the show, just head over to YouTube, search Talk It Up, we pop, you'll see my amazing guests. And our lead engineer is the one and only Sam. So much to get through. As the saying goes, let's talk. Of course, you can text the word talk in your message to 87222. You can leave us a voice note as well. Finlay, shall we prioritise voice notes today? Let's do that. Leave us a voice note. We know you're busy out there going about your business for the day. So much to get through, a very, very busy 3 hours. Can we start by talking about illegal immigration? Because that's what it is. It is illegal immigration. If you cross the channel on a boat, you've broken the law. You are a criminal. So I'd therefore like to tell the woke, the left, the progressives, that it's not irregular immigration. They're not asylum seekers. They're not refugees. They're escaping no war. They've come from France. And the reason why the progressive left changed the language on this, why they don't call it illegal immigration, the reason they call it irregular, the reason they call these folks asylum seekers and refugees, is to influence your opinion. It is Orwellian doublespeak. But of course, it's not surprising from a government that said it was going to grow the economy by shrinking it. A government that's fixing the foundations and stabilising our economy. Meanwhile, inflation and unemployment are on the rise. This is a government that talks about securing our energy supply whilst pouring concrete into oil wells. Make it make sense. This is a Prime Minister, slippery Starmer, who's smashing the gangs by propping up their business model because they celebrated with Cristal champagne the moment he axed the Rwanda plan. The first Prime Minister to go on record as saying, I will get rid of a policy even if it's a good policy. First Prime Minister ever. Because before the election, they said, will you scrap the Rwanda plan, which was our only deterrent? Will you scrap it if it's working? And he said, oh, yes, I'll scrap it. Because this is a Prime Minister so incompetent, right? The broken clock that isn't even right twice a day would scrap the Rwanda plan even if it worked. And it was working. I'm an Irishman. My name is Dolan. I'm very connected to Irish politics. And the Taoiseach of Ireland, that's the Prime Minister, said at the time, under the leadership of Rishi Sunak, when he was still PM, that the Rwanda plan was a big problem for Ireland. It was already working before it had started because the migrant boats were going past the UK straight to the Republic. So I think, and my contention is that illegal immigration is an emergency, right? I think it's a national emergency. I think it's like a war. I think it's like a pandemic. It's like a natural disaster. I think it's an emergency, and I'm going to lay out why. First of all, because of the threat of terrorism, which is very clear and present in our minds at the moment, isn't it? And people don't realise that the small boats are an excellent way to send terrorists into the UK. The security services are very clear. MI5, MI6 are looking at those boat crossings and they know that suspected terrorists are on some of those boats. And the truth is, there have to be, we don't know how many, but some of them statistically are, because they throw their phones and their documents into the sea as they cross. And in fact, we were recently warned that Iran, with whom the West are currently at war, are looking at the small boats as a way of getting terrorists into the UK. And we've been here before. In May of last year, 3 Iranian men were charged under the National Security Act for engaging in conduct likely to assist a foreign intelligence service, right? They were spies and they were coming over to the UK on small boats. Jonathan Hall, KC, a top lawyer, independent reviewer of terrorism legislation in 2025, warned of risks from instability in northern Syria, allowing ISIS-linked terrorists and families to return via small boat, smuggling routes or other clandestine means. He described it as a potential ticking time bomb if watch lists are insufficient, noting they could engage in attack planning. So you've got people on the boats who are potentially planning terror in this country. If that's not an emergency, I don't know what is. 70,000 have come since the Prime Minister entered 10 Downing Street. If just one of them is a terrorist, then we've got a problem, because you only need one Ariana Grande concert in which tragedy will happen. And here's the great irony. Other countries get it. They understand national boundaries. Try entering Saudi Arabia illegally. Good luck with that. Try entering Singapore illegally. Good luck with that. Try entering the Emirates, Russia, China. Good luck with that. Because many of those countries, they're not democracies. I don't admire them in other ways. But there's one thing all of those countries have got: Saudi Arabia, Singapore, the Emirates, China. They've all got law and order, haven't they? They control their country. They control their borders. The crisis in the Channel. I've mentioned terror. Then there's the humanitarian argument. It's a humanitarian crisis and the left don't care. Did you know that nearly 200 people have died in the Channel in the last 10 years? Deafening in their silence, the left, on that issue. And then there is the cost. The overall cost of illegal immigration. I've got the numbers. UK asylum system 2024 to 2025. Direct central government spending £5 billion. £5 billion. So if you're a bus driver and let's say your net income is, I don't know, maybe a couple of grand a month out of a salary of 30k, well then £1,000 of your money goes to tax. It won't even touch the sides for the cost of accommodating illegal immigrants. $5 billion in a year. You've got support and hotels, $4 billion. Processing and intake, $442 million. Enforcement, borders, detention and returns, $2 billion. Legal appeals, all the rest of it, $100 million. Public services, to take care of illegal immigrants who shouldn't be here in the first place. NHS, education, social care, local councils, $1.5 billion. It goes on and on and on. So we've covered the humanitarian angle. People are dying in the channel. The left don't care. We've covered the terror angle. One terrorist is too many, and we know there are more. We've covered the eye-watering cost, so that a bus driver's tax bill doesn't even touch the sides to pay for this crisis. And then there is number 4, which is danger to the British people, criminals. For example, what about lovely Sadek Nickzadi? Arrived by a small boat in 2023 and raped a 15-year-old girl in Falkirk town centre. We're now expensively keeping this guy in prison. What about Ahmad Moulakil, asylum seeker, came on a small boat, abducted and raped a 12-year-old girl in Nuneaton? What about a man who was accommodated in a migrant hotel, Deng Choi Majek, arrived by small boat in July 2024, murdered Rhiannon Sky White. She worked in that hotel on her way home from work in a train station, stabbed with a screwdriver. So we've covered national security and terrorism. We've covered crime. We've covered the cost. We've covered the humanitarian angle. The left don't care. So illegal immigration is eye-wateringly expensive. It mortgages our future by keeping a good 50% of so-called asylum seekers here indefinitely. It makes us less safe because we don't know who these people are, which exposes us not just to violent crime and property crime, but potential terror. And it's a humanitarian disaster because people are dying in the sea. So illegal immigration is cruel. It's making us poorer. It's exposing us to extreme peril. If that's not a national emergency, I don't know what is. But let me know your thoughts at 1:14 in the afternoon. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? I want your calls. I want your voice notes. 0344 499 1000. Faith will take care of that. So much to get through. Live in the studio, the one and only broadcaster and political commentator, Peter Barnes. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Mark. How's it going?
Very
it's very
well.
weird to see you at this day, at this time as well. You're going to throw me for the rest of the week now.
Well,
I hope
no,
you're
that's
happy.
right. You thought it was 6 a.m. and it was a Saturday.
Yes, yeah.
Now, we need to get through this because the great debate to have, I'm not happy with this Orwellian doublespeak of irregular asylum.
Oh, that nonsense, yeah.
OK? I'm also not that comfortable with asylum seeker or refugee because I think that conjures an image of someone that's escaping war and certain death.
Yeah.
They're not. They've come from France.
Yes, well, you know, it's France. But I will say, it's very important.
Some sympathy.
Yes, some sympathy.
Yeah,
But you
they
do
can't stand Macron.
Well, you know, who can? Not his wife, apparently. But I will say that it's very important that we do actually still have the differentiating categories. We have to have that because there are different things, because it's all... What you are classified as gives you certain rights, it gives you certain privileges, and vice versa.
Yeah.
What I will say, though, is that this entire crisis is what we call a full-spectrum state collapse. Every single bit of the state, as you've just mentioned there, is affected by this crisis. Every single bit, from education to security to policing, community cohesion, everything. Because what the migrant crisis has done is it's created a black hole, as everything has been sucked into it. Everything, all our resources, time, political capital, everything is focused on this crisis, because until you fix it, everything else is going to stay collapsing or collapsed. And until you actually get to grips with it, there is not going to be a solution to literally anything else that we try to fix.
And the other issue that I've raised in my opening comments is that we're mortgaging our future.
Yes.
Because a good 50% of these people will stay indefinitely, either because their legal request is successful or we can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
And therefore, the cost per illegal immigrant, you're looking at, across their lifetime, circa £500,000.
Yeah.
The reason being that if we're very lucky and they do work, well, first of all, that's taking low-paid work away from people that live in this country and were born here. But if they do work, they'll be low-skilled and low income, which means they'll require in-work benefits and the whole package of state support, including subsidised accommodation and dentistry and health service, all the rest of it, right? So they're not going to be sending their kids to bloody Eton. So there's that cost. There are some suggestions that somebody that works here legally, having received asylum, will cost £1 million in total to the taxpayer if they live to the age of 90. So the finances of this are massive.
Oh, without a doubt, it's eye-watering. It's the numbers. If you actually saw the number of zeros, I don't think people could probably count that many zeros. It's rather ridiculous. But you're so right, because what it is actually it's the compounding aspect of this.
Right.
It's not just them coming here. It's then the housing. It's the education of the children. It's then education of their children. It is literally, it just expands and expands and compounds. And until you actually really get to grips with the welfare bill overall, again, it's just going to spiral even more out of control.
And plot spoiler, this idea of low-skilled work, you know, this is how the left, the progressive wokesters sell it, is that they're going to be in care homes, they're going to be taken care of, you know, they'll do the fruit picking. Well, not necessarily. A good portion of these people will never work and they'll be on unemployment benefit.
Oh, yes.
Low-skilled work is best case scenario.
Oh, that is best case scenario, because the worst case scenario is we don't even know how many people are actually here. The numbers we have are those we've actually bothered to count. Let's not forget, not too long ago, the National Statistics Office said that we needed an emergency census because they didn't know how many people were in the country because nobody bothered to count who came in and who came out.
Yeah.
It is absolutely... I cannot put into words just how anybody still has a job, because they all should be fired. This is just a catastrophic failure from start to finish. And all these people in the civil service, at the top end of the Home Office, I've got gold-plated pensions, live in very nice neighbourhoods. None of this crisis is realistically going to affect them in the medium to short term. So they are so far removed from it, it is laughable. And, you know, you've then got places like Crowborough, you've got places like Epping that are literally on the front lines of this crisis. Literally, and I do agree with you, it is a war crisis, warlike crisis. And, you know, they are getting very little support, very little kind of, you know, shake of the, you know, fair shake of the tail. And it's just, it is crazy to me that I've sat in this chair for so many years now and just had to talk about this crisis getting worse and getting worse and getting worse because the Labour government does not have the political will or the political capital to do anything about it. And anything Shabana Mahmood says, you should just ignore. Because one, I don't believe she means it, and two, she's never getting it through the backbenchers who are really running the country.
Well, I cannot think of anyone of the calibre of Peter Barnes I'd rather have in the studio, because we need to have a big conversation today. This is actually Event TV and Event Radio, if you're just joining us, because I want to declare a national emergency for illegal immigration, because I think it's a humanitarian crisis, an economic one, and a national security one. The national security one is the terror threat plus criminals who are crossing the channel. We know that. They've broken the law to be here, and a portion of them have harmed and indeed killed our citizens, and yet still the progressive left couldn't care. Why? Because they're not the good people that they profess to be. Is illegal immigration an emergency? Nigel says, good morning, Mark. Good afternoon. Illegal immigration is an emergency, but it's not a national emergency because the Labour Party is the national emergency. Nigel, brilliant first text to kick off with. Brad says, good afternoon, Mark, and hello, Peter. It absolutely is a national emergency. The government and everyone else has just become so used to this situation that the numbers no longer have any impact. We are virtually immune to it. The only way to get any action is to declare it an emergency. That's Brad in Cambridge. Others agree, although I will say Brad's been greedy. He's texted me about 10 times. But Brad, you know, you got through in the end, isn't it? Kevin says the fact that they use the phrase progressive left is because that sounds so warm and moral compared with the word communism. Well done you. You said the true bit out loud. Let's take a listen to a voice note if we can, Sam. Should we fire that up? And here is Charlie. Charlie, first voice note of the day. Take it away.
Illegal immigration and housing. My best friend died 3 years ago. His wife gets evicted, a non-fault eviction today. She's got nowhere to live. Nothing out there for her. She works. She gets offered absolutely nothing. She has to live with her. She has to go and live with her mum, her and her daughter. What a sorry state, eh? When we can't look after our own people, but we're looking after all the third world, isn't it, really?
Is, by the way, fantastic voice note, Charlie, and you've pointed out the madness of it. Those who governed, who are placing the British people at the very, very bottom or back of the queue, I should say. So much to get through. A very busy show today. We'll talk about the BBC later. Is there any way with their new boss that you can love the BBC again? But we're going to continue this conversation. Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? This is Talk.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCown.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of its desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Here's a voice note from Kev.
Hi, Mark. No, it's not now a national emergency over the boat crossings, etc. It always has been a national emergency, just nobody's been dealing with it as such.
Well, there you go. Thank you for that. And let's have a word from Rob on this as well, because you're feeling very excised about this issue this afternoon. Here's a voice note from Rob.
Hello, Mark. The question about is it a national emergency, illegal immigration? It was a national emergency the first time an illegal immigrant broke into our country. It was a national emergency the first time an illegal immigrant raped one of our women. It was a national emergency the first time an illegal immigrant came in here and murdered one of our people. This government and the Conservative governments, they've all got blood on their hands, mate, because every murder and every rape and every victim of crime from an illegal immigrant is on them. So yes, it is a national emergency, but it was a national emergency, 10 years ago? Not now, mate.
Thank you very much for that. Two brilliant voice notes there. How about this from Sally? Good morning, good evening. Well, I never know what time of the day it is. I do too much breakfast. Good afternoon, Mark. Yes, illegal immigration is and has been for years a national emergency. And now legal immigration is too. It makes me depressed and scared to live here. And I'm only staying because of my elderly dad. I'm now wary of any man of colour, which was not the case previously. How sad is that? Not to mention the cost and impact on safety and society. And what about this from Yvonne? Mark, I believe that immigration, the disaster of immigration, is done by design. This government hate the indigenous population. I believe they're diluting the population on purpose to more easily control us. Becca says, what a silly question, Mark. It's always been a national emergency for many years. Let's talk now about a fresh headache for the Prime Minister. What is going on? The mystery of the lost mobile phone. So here's the story, folks. Downing Street made no attempt to recover the former Chief of Staff of the Starmer administration, Morgan McSweeney's stolen mobile phone. This according to Metropolitan Police records. In a call log published by Scotland Yard yesterday, Morgan McSweeney, once Chief of Staff to good old Starmer, told an officer his phone had been snatched by a bike rider as he walked home from a restaurant in Pimlico in central London. But during the call, made October the 20th last year, he failed to tell officers he was Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff and that he worked at number 10, meaning that the force did not realise that the government-issued device could contain sensitive material and contacts. Scotland Yard are very surprised. They said they'd not been informed that the mugging involved the Chief of Staff or that the device contained sensitive information. Well, Peter Barnes, I'm going to allow you to be Hercule Poirot.
Oh, right. Okay.
All right. Or maybe Miss Marple.
There's a bit of, yeah.
Okay. Gather everyone together in a drawing room.
Yeah.
What's going on here? It's very convenient they should lose this phone, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those classic things. It doesn't pass the sniff test, does it? I mean, it's something that smells a bit off here. But for me, the idea that they kind of got in a room and this was the big old plan, it just seems a bit baldric to me. Do you know, I've got a cutting plan, you know, and it all goes catastrophe. This seems maybe possible, but I will say the overlying kind of story of this is, yes, it may seem a bit Westminster bubble. kind of like. But the fact that you've got members of the Labour Party openly attacking Number 10, saying this story isn't true, is the actual story. Do not get me wrong. We need to know where that phone is, why it wasn't reported, why he didn't tell the police it was Number 10. When I've had a government phone and these kind of things, I lost my wallet one time. I ended up at MI5 for an afternoon where they tried to interview you and all the rest of it. It is very serious when they take, if you've got certain passes, they take it very seriously. So the fact that he's just flounced that is just shocking beyond belief. And I think the Met have done the right thing here by actually saying, whoa, 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 this one, not us this time. Don't get me wrong, they've got a lot of issues when it comes to mobile phones, but this one's not on them. For me, again, it goes back to this question of trust for the Labour Party, because now everything they do just looks like a cover-up. It looks like something dodgy. They have lost the benefit of the doubt, and you need that as a government, because every mistake is now deliberate. Every kind of dropping of the ball is a deliberate fumble, and unfortunately they've already started to build this narrative up, and this has just been like the final death nail, because nobody is believing a word of this story. It is too convenient, even if it is a complete accident. Because of how they've handled it, just said, right, it's so far-fetched because of this. They've just flat denied it. People have gone, are you taking me for an idiot? Do you think I'm that stupid? That is what the government has done. And unfortunately, the long consequences of this are going to be huge, because Starmer now can get nothing done, realistically, because the public has lost all trust in him. It's like when Boris and Partygate, when that kind of all came out, that was when he was finished, because it showed that the trust of the public was completely evaporated now.
Therefore, Starmer has lost the metaphorical dressing room.
Yes, yeah. He's lost the dressing room, the team, the players, the stadium, all the fans, and all the old boys.
Barbara, the dinner lady?
Oh, yeah, and the dog. Everything. Because this is the point, is a Prime Minister governs with the confidence of the House of Commons. If you've got MPs of your own party saying, I don't have confidence in you, it's not that long till a vote of no confidence comes your way. And you might win it, but you never survive it.
We're going to talk about Miliband later.
Oh, John.
And I'm very interested, because the Prime Minister said it was actually the Energy Secretary's call as to whether we drill, baby, drill.
Codswallop.
This is, unprecedented within our politics for a Prime Minister, primo inter pares, as they say, first among equals, to say such a thing. Do you think that in many ways now it is Miliband who is controlling government?
Well, that's quite an interesting question, because most of the cabinet are pretty furious at him at the moment because of the kind of refusal to drill, because their budgets are being pressured to kind of fund Ed Miliband's kind of green nightmare. So therefore they're getting it in the neck from their voters. So
and the trade unions.
And the trade unions, they are all over the place at the minute. So yeah, the Labour Party and the trade unions, not best friends. So it is all a bit of a mess, because you would think that Ed Miliband would be kind of leading a lot of this, but it just seemed to be that behind the scenes there is a lot of tension between literally everybody, and what that means is that it would be very unlikely that a leadership contest will come about, because there is no unifying figure. There needs to be a unifying person that everybody can coalesce behind, and that's who becomes the next Prime Minister under the Labour Party, but that's not happening.
Shall we take a listen to the Prime Minister responding to this growing scandal over Morgan McSweeney, his former Chief of Staff, who lost his phone, didn't tell the cops that he worked for the Prime Minister? Take a listen to the PM.
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there would be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
Well, there you go, the Prime Minister swatting away this story, but I think it's a scandal that won't go away. Briefly, Peter, I know you've got to run. The Prime Minister, does he survive the summer?
I think he does, purely because there isn't, like I said, there's not a single figure for the Labour Party to coalesce behind. They've kind of gone off Angie a bit. Ed Miliband seems to be not making friends of being Ed Miliband. Wes Streeting seems to be out in the cold. So realistically, there's no person. The only thing I can think of that would be a bigger nightmare in my head is Lisa Nandy. She's always been the go-between between the factions. She's somewhat of the consigliere between them all. Yeah. So if she suddenly rises to be the one that they can all tolerate, that is a possibility. And I cannot stand that woman. There's very few people in politics I don't like, but that one, because she's incompetent and everything wrong in the Labour Party in one single person. And if she ends up being Prime Minister, I'm going to Dubai.
Run for the hills. We'll all come with you on a small boat, ironically. Peter Barnes, we love having you on the show. We'll catch up soon. My thanks to the brilliant Peter Barnes. On this missing mobile phone, Andy in Cornwall says, hello, Mark. It's easy to find the missing mobile phone. Just ask Louise Haigh, former Transport Secretary. She's got previous on that. Very good and very witty. David says, where is the CCTV footage of McSweeney's stroll home through Pimlico? That's Dave in Tenbury Wells. Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Adil says, yes, it's an emergency alongside legal migration too. It is, says Adil, cultural suicide. More on that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk. Mark Dolan in for the brilliant Ian Collins. A very busy couple of hours to come. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? Many of you saying it absolutely is, and we've got to sort this out. Many people are worried about the finance of it. Many are worried about their safety, including Joanna in Salisbury. Hello, Mark. Whether illegal immigration is an emergency or not, it's been an emergency for many, many years, and it is a frightening force like a military takeover. Funny how they haven't named the British nationals that set fire to the ambulances when the crazy driver that mowed down Liverpool football supporters in a couple of hours was a white British man. What are they hiding again? And this from Kevin. The fact that they use the phrase progressive left is because that sounds warm and moral compared with the word communism. Well, listen, folks, let's have a little listen to the Prime Minister talking about migrant hotels in 2023 as Leader of the Opposition.
And what happens to the rest? They sit in hotels and digs for months on end at the taxpayers' expense. Last year, he promised to end the hotel farce. That's the talk.
Well, there you go. Well, there he goes, talking a good game as Leader of the Opposition. Don't forget, Keir Starmer, I'm going to smash the gangs. Here is a second clip. Starmer saying that he wants to close hotels, and it's going to happen soon. Take a listen.
I want us to close hotels. I think over coming months you'll see evidence of that.
Where is the evidence? And here's the point. It's a red herring. You close the hotels, they go somewhere else, such as an army training centre in Crowborough in East Sussex. 500 undocumented men. Devastating for the local community. Let's get further reaction. Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Delighted to welcome a very good friend of the show and of the channel, Norman Baker, former Home Office Minister. Hello, Norman.
Mark, hello, and quite a good impersonation of Keir Starmer, if I may say so.
Definitely. Mike Yarwood lives, and he lives to this day. Can I ask you, Norman, what do you make of the concern by some of my viewers and listeners that actually this is now a national emergency?
Well, I wouldn't call it an emergency. It's a very significant issue. It hasn't been dealt with by the political class in total. And Labour Party has not dealt with it since they came to power, despite what Keir Starmer promised in opposition. But he inherited from the Conservatives a ridiculous policy. The policy the Conservatives had, I know this from my time in the Home Office, was to deliberately slow down the processing of claims in order to, as they saw it, provide a disincentive to come. The idea was that if people were in hotels not doing anything for a long, long time, that would be a disincentive. That's a crazy policy, but that's what the Conservatives had. And of course, if you go back to the last election, the last government rather, Robert Jenrick, who was a minister in the last Conservative government, boasted about the number of extra hotel places he was funding. So we've got a terrible situation that neither of the main two parties comes out of this with any credit whatsoever. So let me tell you what I think should happen. First of all, there need to be far more people processing claims so that people who come here and claim asylum are dealt with very quickly. It should be within a month, quite frankly. And the idea people are in years in hotels is ridiculous. Secondly, we need to reduce the number of opportunities for appeals. I think one appeal is satisfactory. That's only justice. But multiple appeals is deliberately to string out the process is quite wrong. That should be rationalised. And thirdly, if people are here for a long time, in my view, they should be able to and encouraged to work. So they pay taxes and don't be a burden on the state.
If they're allowed to work, then they're going to take work off people that are already struggling to find a job. Surely that works against the interest of the British people, Norman.
Well, not necessarily, because I think there are areas of society where there are acute shortages. There is a shortage, for example, severe shortage in care homes of people to work in care homes. There's a shortage of people to work in agricultural land since we left the EU. So there are particular sectors where actually we do need some more people working. And if they're paying taxes, they're contributing towards the cost of education, of health, of all the other things that the government has to pay for. And the government, as you know, is short of money.
Isn't the idea that they'll be paying taxes misleading and disingenuous, Norman, given the fact that if they're low-skilled workers in care homes, picking fruit, you name it, that actually they'll be receiving in-work benefits, they'll be barely paying tax at all?
Well, they will be paying some tax, and secondly, they won't be claiming the same money they will be claiming for sitting around doing nothing in hotels. And in terms of being a threat or a powder keg for the community, if they're actually working and doing something, then that will take the energy away from what they might be doing illegally or improperly from where they're sitting. But look, I mean, the idea is not to have a whole range of people working for a very long period of time. I'm saying that's a backstop if people haven't been dealt with quickly. And the absolute necessity is to get people dealt with quickly, I think within a month or 2 months at most, and then they're either assimilated into society or they're deported back from where they came. And if you do that, that acts as a disincentive for the people to come, the opposite of what the Conservatives had. If people know they're going to be dealt with very quickly, then they know they might be sent back very quickly. That's got to be the disincentive we apply.
Now, a number of your ideas are creative, intelligent and well thought through. And of course, you know what you're talking about, Norman. You're a former Home Office Minister. You understand the workings of government. However, let's look at the cost of processing those asylum claims. If in the region of 50% of those who have entered the country illegally are granted asylum, the cost to the taxpayer in the long term is enormous, isn't it? Because they're likely to either not work or have low-skilled work and therefore have in-work benefits. And of course, then they're going to need schools for their kids, NHS services, other aspects of infrastructure, subsidised housing. It's been estimated that the cost of granting asylum to somebody that's crossed the channel illegally is £500,000 across their lifetime. That doesn't sound like a great deal for my viewers and listeners.
Well, I don't know if I accept that figure, Mark, to be honest with you. But what I would say is that, if people qualify for asylum, they qualify either quickly and start paying tax and be assimilated, or they qualify for a long period of time.
What is this mythical tax? If they're earning £18,000 a year, the tax is almost non-existent compared to what they need from the state, which is going to be a council house, a school place, a GP appointment, and infrastructure.
Well, they're getting some of these things now. Sitting in hotels are getting benefits and they're getting GP appointments. They're getting these things now and contributing nothing to society. If they're working, they are contributing something to society, including some tax, albeit I accept not necessarily a huge amount of tax. I think from memory starts about 12,000 is a starting point. They would be paying some
12
tax.
and a half.
But look, an asylum person sitting in a hotel who eventually qualifies for asylum, they've had a year or two when they're not contributing anything. Let's get them contributing to start with as soon as they can. Or, as I say, that's a backstop, because what we should be doing is actually deporting people who shouldn't be here and doing that quite quickly. Of course, what we haven't talked about is the draw factor and the issue of people coming across. And there has to be a strategy as well for reducing that.
You might agree that Starmer's plan to smash the gangs has summarily failed, given the fact that around 70,000 people have crossed the Channel illegally since he became Prime Minister.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he hasn't managed to achieve anything in that field.
No, it's not great, is it? And what about the principle that if you cross the Channel in a small boat, you will never be granted asylum?
Well, I don't think that's right, actually. I mean, I'm not in favour of small boats, and I think there are all sorts of reasons why we should clamp down on that. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is that if someone comes here and claims asylum, they either have a good case or they don't have a good case. And actually, the method of how they get here is secondary to that.
But they can claim asylum in France, which is a safe country.
Yes, they can. And if you go back to before we left the EU, we were part of the Dublin Agreement. And the Dublin Agreement allowed us to refuse automatically, immediately, someone's asylum claim if they had been refused in another European Union country. And what's happening now is that people are being refused in a European Union country, and then they're saying, well, I'll try Britain. That wouldn't have happened before with the Dublin Agreement.
Now, Norman, you're a nice man, you're empathetic, and you've got experience in government, but are you not being a little cavalier about whether or not this is a national emergency, given that just the cost of accommodating illegal immigrants is around £5 billion a year, which is an enormous amount of money that should be being spent on public services for the people that live here already? You've got folk dying who are crossing the Channel, which is a humanitarian crisis, and then you've got the crime issue. You've got potential suspected terror links of some people crossing the Channel in a small boat. And you've got the people who come to this country, admittedly a minority, but one is too many, who are harming the British people. In what way is none of that a national emergency?
Well, look, I don't want to downplay it, Mark. I mean, it is a very serious issue and a significant issue which isn't being dealt with, not least of all for some of the reasons you've given. It does cost the taxpayer a great deal of money. It does lead to social unrest, rightly or wrongly, in areas where asylum seekers or potential asylum seekers are housed. So there is a need to make sure that these matters are dealt with. But as I say, getting the people processed more quickly, as well as actually deterring people from coming in the first place, will be part of that answer. So I don't want to say it's not a serious issue. It is. I think the word emergency is a very high bar to reach. What I would say is a very significant issue which has to be dealt with and hasn't been dealt with.
And briefly, Norman, what about bringing back that beautiful Rwanda plan, which, according to the Irish Taoiseach, was already working before a single flight took off?
Well, I don't think it was, to be fair. I mean, that's not my...
Was the Taoiseach lying?
I knew you're lying. I don't think a Taoiseach lies.
What was he doing? Was he inventing something? I mean, the Irish Taoiseach said he's furious about the Rwanda plan because migrants are coming to the Republic of Ireland, bypassing the UK.
Well, they are, and that's, of course, an EU state, and there's a different situation.
It's a beautiful plan. Bring back the beautiful Rwanda plan. It was just beautiful, wasn't it?
I don't think the Taoiseach is either lying or disingenuous. That's his assessment of the situation. I'm not sure I agree with that. Nobody actually went to Rwanda, and we spent a great deal of taxpayers' money on something which produced, I think, 2 voluntary people going over there. So I don't think that's the answer, to be honest with you. The answer is to reduce the number of people coming in here. I think we should have an EU deal, going back to the Dublin Agreement, and to process people quickly. If you do those things, then the problem, to a large extent, goes away.
Norman, always a treat to have you on the show. Really enjoyed your company today. Thanks for your considered thoughts on this complex issue. Norman Baker is a former Home Office minister. Your reaction: is illegal immigration a national emergency. This is Talk.
Current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up! I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Is illegal immigration a national emergency? This from an unnamed texter. Mark, I'm telling you, these scumbags are here to take over. I keep saying it, AK-47, we are in trouble. Mark, your guest Norman Baker was way off, says Mark in Southampton. The problem is how easy it is to claim asylum in the UK. Look at the numbers. We should ban all asylum claims for 5 years at least. Julianne in Cheshire. Hello, Julianne. Thank you for your message. I think, Mark, if Norman's daughter had been raped by one of these so-called asylum seekers, he would then think it was an emergency. Kevin is in North Yorkshire. Afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon. Enjoying the sunshine. I hope it's like that down there for you.
It is. The country is bathed in sunshine. It's a very rare thing. Let's enjoy it. And Kevin, what do you think? Is illegal immigration a national emergency?
Oh, 100%. It's just I completely agree with every word of your monologue from earlier. Absolute nonsense that we tolerate this and it shouldn't be tolerated. The only thing I would add to that is people keep using, and you did in your monologue, about the word progressive. I think there's nothing progressive about anything, and it's an imposed term, a self-imposed term to give them the moral feeling of moral superiority. Yeah. It's completely regressive. Everything about it is regressive, and we need to stop using that word progressive and take it as a joke.
Well, this is what the left do, don't they? They appropriate language in order to mislead and hide what they're really about.
Absolutely, and that word is used so much by people, and it just makes their self-belief in moral superiority even better.
I mean, you're a genius. Kevin, you are a genius for saying that. It is so true that the progressives are, in fact, regressive. It's the same idea that diversity is not diverse, and those who talk about inclusion believe in exclusion if you've got the wrong skin colour.
Absolutely. So we need to start fighting back on that, and you throw that word back at them and sort of say, no, there's nothing progressive about what you stand for and how you produce it. You know, you can be morally virtuous, you can do all those things, but when you start using those words to promote yourself, then it's just about self. It's nothing else.
Kevin, you're right, and I've got another word for you, and it's an American term. They describe lefties in America as liberals. Again, these people are anything but liberal.
Absolutely. I mean, that word is another word that's abused by a range of political ideals. But, you know, the only liberal status is one where government is less and the public have the authority, and that's liberal. Anything short of that, anything that wants more government and less personal power, then it can't be liberal and it can't be progressive.
Kevin, a 5-star call. Please call me again soon. What a brilliant set of points you've made. Big Darren is in Surrey. Afternoon, Darren.
Oh, Mark, hi, good afternoon. Hi.
What's on your mind, Big man? What are you up to, by the way? What's going on in Surrey this afternoon?
Well, I'm not in Surrey. I'm from Surrey. I'm at work.
See.
I'm actually up in Southgate at the moment. So I drive I drive around a lot for work.
Good man.
And
what's on your mind? I mean, do you think this illegal immigration is emergency? Is that too strong a word, Darren?
No, not at all. Not at all. My how do I put this? I mean, we get apathetic as British people about a lot. I think, you know, it's go home, we go in, have a cup of tea, and just get on with it. And tomorrow might be a bit.
We're too tolerant, Darren.
We are, and then it's taken for granted. But what prompted me to ring in was it Nigel, the chap you had?
I had Norman Baker on, ex-Home Office Minister.
Norman Baker, sorry, yeah.
That's right.
So he said about, we need these people to be carers. Oh, my days, it must make me scream in my car. Right, first of all, a lot of these jobs have always been vocational, okay? You have a certain something about you, a personality would make you want to go and do that, whether it's be nursing or be a doctor or be a fireman. And this is how it was always been.
It's a calling. It's a calling.
Exactly. Now, I see a lot of where you got old age pensioners in their homes on their own, and they've got people going in. And I don't want to cast aspersions. Again, you feel like you have to be careful for tripping over things, but it's an observation, Mark. But these guys, please don't tell me that these guys are doing this as a vocational thing. You know, some of them to go in and out, and they're in and out in 10 minutes, and they're sitting in their cars. I've had an argument with one about parking where he threatened to beat me up. You know, and my mum was getting distressed, bless her, and everything else, because he just basically just left his car, didn't care about it. And it's a little bit anecdote, I know, but I'll digress.
No, I think the anecdote's important. I think, Darren, what you're saying is that not all of these people crossing the boats and breaking the law entering the country, they're not all bloody Florence Nightingale.
Well, no, they're not going to be. And here's the other thing. Nothing's going to get solved, Mark. Nothing will get solved because we've got a massive cottage industry attached to it. Because, for example, you've got people coming in, they're doing jobs, they can't speak any English, they can't communicate with customers, and they can't be living off the money they're earning doing takeaway deliveries and stuff like that. So there must be a benefit side of it that they're getting in addition to it.
Of course they're on benefits, and some of them will go into crime, Darren.
So then you've got specialist charities, groups, quangos, whatever. You've got lawyers and everything else, and they are all creaming off it. They're all creaming off it. And I would hazard a guess or speculate there are people within the echelons of these major parties who have got or know people or are attached to a group that are making money out of it. They wouldn't have the will to do it while there is an industry. And then it covers up everything else because from an economic perspective.
Darren, your call is so important. Go on, last point. Go on.
One more thing.
Go for it.
Just very quickly, I know it's off topic. Trafalgar Square. There was a columnist in the Mail. Her last name was Khan, I think it was a Sunday Mail, and she was a former Muslim turned to Christianity, and she put it so eloquently about, and she was sick of what Keir Starmer said last week. Here's the thing, one of my massive heroes is Lord Nelson, right? If anyone reads about Lord Nelson, I mean, how should I put this? the analogy I'll draw, goalkeepers, they say, a different breed because they go down at people's feet. They have to be a bit nuts to do that job. Lord Nelson took one of the smallest ships. He didn't go from the back. He went from the front into the Armada. He pulled himself up with one arm when he got shot back onto the boat. If I was to do a screenplay, I'd cast Jason Statham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should I not be insulted as well? Because it wouldn't be allowed in other countries. But I'm not, because I just try and think, again, it comes back to how apathetic we are and how tolerant we go, okay,
well, this is the big theme, right, Darren, that we're being made mugs of. We are an open nation, we're tolerant, and that's being abused. Isn't it?
You know, exactly.
We're mugs. We are mugs. And we give these people money.
Yeah, we are Mug Britain. Just quickly, I mean, we're talking about cost of living. I was on holiday in Fuerteventura last year. Took my family out for a meal, drinks, everything else. It cost me €60, Mark. You take your family to a Wagon Mamas and Nando's, it's 120 quid.
It is another way that we've been mugged off, isn't it? Darren, what a brilliant call. I really appreciate your comments. Please call again soon, because your call represents why we're here, is to speak truth to power. You've got a brain in your head. You've got eyes in your eye sockets. You've got ears. You can see what's going on. We know what's going on. And this is a national emergency. So much more to come. You're listening to Talk. Catch up shortly.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good afternoon to you. The country is bathed in sunshine. Mark Dolan in for the brilliant Ian Collins, and a big couple of hours to come. I'm actually here today and tomorrow. Lovely to have your company. Breaking this afternoon as the Prime Minister hits the unwelcome milestone of 70,000 illegal boat crossings since he won power. We can exclusively reveal on Talk that the number of illegal immigrants in taxpayer-funded accommodation for more than a year, that is, people sat there being accommodated at great expense for more than a year, has risen 40% since Labour came to power. So my question to you this afternoon is a simple one. We know that illegal immigration is dangerous, it's expensive, it's dividing our society. A portion of these people are a terror threat. A portion of these people will seek harm on our citizens. So here's the question. Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Meanwhile, Nigel Farage storms out of the House of Commons after the Prime Minister once again refuses to answer the question. So is walking out a bold tactic to hold the PM to account, or is it the politics of the playground? We'll have a look at what Farage has been up to and we'll give you top analysis. And here we go again, folks. The United Nations think that Britain should pay slavery reparations. Did they not get the memo that the victims of slavery and the perpetrators are all dead? They're all dead! Well, you've got a representative from the UK who abstained in that vote. They didn't vote against slavery reparations. What is wrong with the establishment? And the BBC has got a new Director General. If they change, if they improve, can you ever go back to loving the BBC? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. The Brilliant Faith is taking your calls. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note as well. We love the voice notes. So much to get through. And we'll kick off in the company of a very old friend of mine, editorial director at the Guido Fawkes political website, Adam Cherry. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Mark. How you doing?
Very well. Brilliant to have you on the show. I want to get through a few big stories with you today, including illegal immigration and Farage's hissy fit in the Commons yesterday. But what's the latest on the mystery of Morgan McSweeney's missing mobile phone? This, of course, the former Chief of Staff to the Prime Minister.
Yeah, so Morgan McSweeney, it emerged, had his phone stolen. As you say, he was the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister. He had his phone stolen in October of last year, which was about 3 weeks after Lord Mandelson, Peter Mandelson, was sacked as the US ambassador. Now, Morgan McSweeney was instrumental in making that appointment. They were very close. And the point about this today is that Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting have both said in the last 24 hours that it is far-fetched to assume that that Morgan McSweeney would have known at some point in the future there would be a public interest in seeing what was on that phone relating to Peter Mandelson. Right, there were messages, WhatsApp exchanges, and in one fell swoop that all disappeared because the phone was stolen. And Starmer says today, it's far-fetched to assume that McSweeney would ever have thought that those messages, that evidence would be relevant to the public interest. Now, the problem, unfortunately, is that is total nonsense if you look at the timeline. So, as I said, McSweeney had his phone stolen on the 20th of October. But even in the 3 weeks prior to that, we reported, The Spectator reported, The Sun reported that the Conservatives were planning to bring a humble address motion. In other words, call that evidence to Parliament. And Labour were very, very concerned about this because the material they thought was extremely damaging. So McSweeney did know that evidence was going to be demanded, and he also knew that it looked bad for him. So, look, I'm not putting a tinfoil hat on. We have got a transcript of that call. Yeah. The Met has confirmed that the phone was stolen. But the line today just does not make sense when you look at the timeline and you look at the publicly available evidence throughout that entire period. It's pure spin, and it does not add up.
Adam Cherry, you are a seasoned journalist. Do you smell a rat here?
I smell a rat. I mean, I would say it doesn't add up, right? There's something here that just does not make sense. The government, Labour, at very senior levels, were very, very concerned about this. It's all very convenient. And okay, they said they're going to release some
because
messages.
There could be material on that phone that gives us further information about the circumstances in which Lord Mandelson, friend of the paedophiles, was employed as diplomat ambassador to the United States.
Yeah. So deeply embarrassing material vanishes into the night. It wasn't backed up. I mean, I've had my phones. Many people will have it who live in London.
Someone tried to actually give me a tug the other day, and I can assure you I threw them a dirty stare. Walking down the street watching, bizarrely, a documentary about the musical Oliver, because I know how to live, and some thug on a bike tried to, it wasn't great. But the bottom line is we know these crimes are rife. Odd, therefore, that when he calls the police, he doesn't mention that he works for the Prime Minister, and therefore the phone could be a rather sort of sensitive device.
Yeah, he gives the wrong address, first of all, and second of all, as you say, he doesn't reveal that the entire cabinet, there are messages on there from all of those members, no doubt, their personal details and so on, right? Clearly a highly compromising situation, and he doesn't mention it at all. I guess his defence is he immediately wiped it, and he was a bit dazzled by the experience. It's not nice, okay, fine, but you're the chief of staff. You don't think it's relevant? It should have been the first thing he said.
How do you think this plays out, Adam?
So we have the second batch of emails, messages, evidence and material coming just after the parliamentary recess. We're in recess now. Feels like we're always in recess, but Parliament has risen from recess. So the MPs are back in their constituencies. When they come back, the second batch is published, and it is expected that there will be some of that material between McSweeney and Mandelson within that evidence, within that batch. Now, what exactly is in there? What is redacted? In the first batch of messages, there was nothing personally from Keir Starmer. There was nothing no evidence at all of him having any fingerprints over this, other than rubber stamping it at the end. So I think, given how reluctant they've been to be open about this, given that the current line basically doesn't make sense, you drive a train through it, there's so many holes in this. I would expect that whatever comes out in April will be seriously embarrassing.
I think embarrassing is right, and it just paints a picture of a Prime Minister that the public don't trust anymore, Adam, that the public don't believe anymore, and it's so convenient that this phone has gone missing. Let's take a listen to the Prime Minister, our glorious leader.
Well, the phone was stolen. It was reported to the police. There's a transcript of the call in which Morgan McSweeney gives his name, his date of birth, the details of the phone, and the police confirm that it was reported. Unfortunately, there are thefts like this. It was stolen, it was reported at the time, and the police have acknowledged and confirmed that that is what happened. And the idea that somehow everybody could have seen that sometime in the future there would be a request for the phone is, to my mind, a little bit far-fetched.
Well, there you go. That's the Prime Minister who's essentially, rubbishing any concerns about the circumstances of this missing phone. Let's talk now, if we can, Adam, about what many people would argue is the real leader of the opposition, Nigel Farage, whose party, of course, is ahead in the polls, Reform UK. He put a question to the Prime Minister in the House of Commons. He felt that he got an unsatisfactory answer, or even no answer, and he walked out of the House of Commons in protest. And here he is addressing colleagues later that day, explaining why he walked out. Take a listen.
I had the misfortune today, and it should be a privilege, shouldn't it? I mean, getting up at Prime Minister's questions should be a privilege. I said, since you became Prime Minister, 70,000 people another 70,000 people have crossed the English Channel, including 1,000 people in the last week alone. And I said to him, as your plan has failed, can you tell me, do you have a plan B? Once again, he completely ignored me. He started ranting and raving about reform councils across the country, and in disgust and against parliamentary convention. And I hope you're not ashamed of me. I got up and I walked out. That's how I feel about this man.
Well, there you go, resounding applause from supporters. But Adam, was Nigel Farage's decision to walk out of the House of Commons in protest, was it a sort of bold move, calling out the Prime Minister for not answering a question, or was it the politics of the playground?
I don't know. I mean, PMQ is always a bit of theatre anyway, isn't it? He gets a dramatic flourish. He's right that Starmer didn't answer that question. He didn't answer any question that he doesn't fancy these days. It's a new habit of his. So look, is it perhaps unconventional to do that? I suppose so. His little moment at the conference, at the rally, he just played there in the evening. It wasn't, and in fact, Robert Jenrick, which is next to him, was to follow him out. It was kind of a loyalty test. So Farage goes first, then Lee Anderson, who's been there, since the beginning, really, he follows suit, and eventually Jenrick, who's new to the team, takes a bit longer. So it wasn't some sort of coordinated plan. Clearly, it was a bit of a piece of improv. It gives him something to talk about at his rally.
Adam, we're former colleagues. Great to see you again. You're doing an incredible job at Guido Fawkes as their editorial director. Guido Fawkes, fantastic for political scoops. You'll find them online. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? David is in the capital. Afternoon, David.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. Lovely to hear you down the line. What are your thoughts on this? Because I just think people are dying in the Channel. Terrorists and murderers and rapists are crossing in small boats. It's costing us billions. If that's not an emergency, I don't know what is.
I'm not overly bothered about the first two, but the fact that it's costing us a fortune, I'm more bothered about. I also don't care when people say, well, we don't know who these people are. We don't know where they come from. I don't care who they are. I don't care where they come from. If they arrive illegally, they're not staying under any circumstances, in my opinion. Is it a national emergency? Yes. Some of your people that have been calling in have said, we are committing cultural suicide. This is not a suicide. This is a deliberate act on the people by the government. It is therefore a murder. You can only die in 4 ways: murder, suicide, natural causes, or an accident. This is not suicide because no one has ever decided to take our own lives. It's being imposed on us by a perpetrator known as the government. So it is a murder. It is not a suicide.
Well, it's interesting because it's proactive, and many would agree with you. I took a text earlier from lovely Yvonne who said this feels like a plan, like it's by design. Is that your view too?
Well, it is without any question whatsoever by design, given the fact that people have voted against it so many times in the past. It must therefore, and the fact that you've got interlocking things here. The reason it's not a national emergency is the Prime Minister won't even answer a question about it, where in Prime Minister's question times. He wouldn't even answer the question. So it clearly isn't an emergency for him. So it's not a national emergency unless Starmer, says it is, and he won't. So therefore, by default, it isn't a national emergency, even though for most of us, we believe it is. But our dictatorial friend in government says it isn't, so it isn't. So therefore, it's a murder. It's not a suicide.
Well, I appreciate the veracity of your language, Dave. I'm glad that you're using accurate language because we have to call it what it is, which is why I detest expressions like irregular immigration and refugees and asylum seekers. Dave, stay with me because here is a montage put together by my brilliant team, Finlay and the group and the team, which is Keir Starmer talking about he's going to smash the gangs on more than one occasion. Take a listen, Dave, to your Prime Minister.
You will have helped to smash the gangs.
Take those gangs down. Smashing the gangs.
No shortcut.
Smash the criminal gangs.
No gimmicks.
Have to smash those gangs.
Just the hard graft of sleeves rolled up.
Smash the gangs.
Practical government.
I think smashing the gangs is a deterrent.
We will smash the gangs that undermine our security.
Smash the gangs. Smash the people smuggling gangs.
Smash the gangs.
What do you make of that, Dave?
Oh, it's smashing. Absolutely smashing. The reality is the guy coming out with those words, we all now know to be a complete and utter fake. All he wanted in life was to get into power. He had no idea how he was going to use the power. He just thought it was a good idea. Son of a toolmaker, look at me. I grew up as a working class boy. Please, give me a break. I feel sick. And that's all it is to him. He wants to be in power. And now and this is all left-wing governments like this. They just want to be in power. They have no idea why, other than it feels good and it stops others getting into power.
And maybe, Dave, if I could dare add to your excellent litany of reasons, to control people.
Yeah, it would seem so, though. That does seem bizarre, doesn't it? Who grows up in their life? When did Mr. Starmer, at the age of 16, he said, I want to control people? 18, 20, 25?
Strange.
When did it get into his head one day that he thought, I want to control people? I mean, when would he say that? Down the pub? What would his mates do? Look at him and go, what are you talking about?
Dave, I think it's a personality flaw. I really do. I think it's a disorder. I think that leftism is Elon's talked about it, hasn't he, Dave? The woke mind virus. That's what it is.
Yeah, and also, if you really look at this, and when we talk about it's left versus right, it actually kind of isn't. When you get into the whole Islamist thing and everything else, it's white people on the left don't like white people on the right. The people in between, well, not really in between, but the people they're supposedly standing up for, it's got nothing to do with that. They just don't like people on the right. They're not bothered about anything else.
I agree. It's the same in America, isn't it? It's the same in America. If Donald Trump cured cancer, Dave, they'd still hate him. Listen, what a call. You are the man, Dave. Let me tell you that you can see through the Prime Minister, and that's why we need to speak again, because what I need, Dave, is your wisdom and your seeing eye. Dave's called it out. He's not having Starmer. He thinks he's a phony. He just wants to be in power. There's no plan. It's about control. I'm obliged to say that Sir Keir Starmer would challenge all of those views, and he would say that he inherited a massive economic mess from the Tories when he won the election in July 2024. He will argue he's got a mandate to improve the country. He will argue that he's lifted many thousands of children out of poverty and that he's fixing the foundations of the economy, plus he's working hard to stop illegal immigration. That is the view of the Prime Minister. It's important that we put it out there that he wants to defend his record. But what do you think? Your verdict on Starmer, and a simple question today, is illegal immigration a national emergency? More on that next.
I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk. Lovely to have your company. And many of you very, very concerned about the state of the country. Many of you take the view that actually illegal immigration, it is an emergency. We'll return to that conversation very shortly. But first, the BBC have a new Director General, Matt Britain. And actually, here he is speaking in 2017 about the idea of paying to watch TV. Take a listen.
I think there's huge opportunities for sports. Some do it well, some are just starting, and some haven't figured it out yet. Will we bid for big sports rights? We have done in cricket in India in the past as an experiment. I think that right now, I don't think the ad model is enough to fund that kind of a bid. A subscription model might be. I don't think that we're going to be in the front of the queue on subscription models for a while, but who knows? It depends on the consumer and whether they want to go there. But I do think there's an opportunity for every sport and every niche and every hobby to be online and sharing his passion.
Well, very interesting. I think he's not leaving it off the table that the BBC could be a subscription model, which is very interesting. He said he wants to win back viewers and listeners. So my question is a simple one this afternoon. If they changed, if they improved, if they became politically balanced and made more entertaining shows and funnier comedies, could you ever go back to loving the BBC? 0344 499 1000. Let's get the views of a former BBC star, Gary Lavin. Hello, Gary.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Very well. Lovely to have you on the show. You've been involved in a lot of top BBC shows yourself. What do you make of this appointment, Matt Britain?
It's a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, he apparently was head of Google. Google used to be about information retrieval, not about entertainment.
True.
Until it bought YouTube. But I instantly thought, he's a patrician, isn't he? He's a patrician. The clues in the title at the BBC, Director General, it harks back to Surgeon General,
yes,
Attorney General. Part of an age where you were told what to do, what to like, what to consume. And really, I think it's nice to have, I've met two, very briefly, Director Generals, and they've had a lot to offer and they've been very nice. And it's quite nice to have a patrician, somebody who's clever, to be in charge. But who knows? You know, I do feel it's like same old people go round and round in the same circles, perhaps from one or two in the past who've come from more lowlier backgrounds. But I do feel that this chap might be another patrician. Does he understand television like some of the past people have done?
Yeah. And the other issue you've got is that you could have an inspirational Director General, Gary, but the issue is perhaps the army of woke producers and commissioners working under him.
Well, if you remember the Black Lives Matter hysteria,
yeah,
at that point, the whole zeitgeist of the country was to do something about racial imbalances. And that meant that the BBC hired a lot of what people would call woke staff. Now, they're heads of departments, big department.
Yeah.
There's 20,000 people at the BBC. They're not going anywhere, are they? And I've had my own experiences with producers and things at the BBC, and I know the personal views. And I'm not so sure if they came into play or not in my personal situation, but you can't just change the mindset of 20,000 people overnight.
Well, no, you absolutely can't. Do you think that the licence fee should go, Gary?
Well, but I have to put it this way. I mean, the BBC has and occasionally makes some great stuff. And it trains a lot of people. It's a massive industry out there now. And most of the people take the standards from the BBC. But I don't watch it anymore. It's not my product. It's not for me. It doesn't make me laugh. The sport I don't like anymore on the way it's presented. I don't like the drama. It's all predictable. But that's just me. I'm allowed to have a view as a consumer. So I don't bother with it. So a lot of people say, well, maybe it should be subscription, and then we can make our own minds up.
What do you think, Gary? Like I said, you've been a popular presenter, The One Show, many other TV shows, right? Because you've got a personality and you're politically balanced. Do you think that my viewers and listeners could ever go back to loving the BBC like we did 30 years ago?
Well, like it said in the film, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse. Oh, there's so many channels. There's the internet. Oh, we can't compete. You produce stuff that people relate to and want to see. They'll come back. You know, you can't be... I watch a lot of Netflix. I've got a massive telly because I want to be in the picture. Better than this thing at the moment. So people will come back to a big screen. But they want to be engaged with. They don't want to be lectured and patronised.
And of course, that is the problem with Auntie. Clues in the name. Gary, what a lovely treat to have you on the show. Great to meet you for the first time. Let's get you back on soon. Thanks for making the time. We know how busy you are today to join us on Talk. What do you think, folks? That was Gary Lavin there, former BBC star. If it changed, if it became politically neutral, if the comedies were funny again, if Doctor Who wasn't politically correct, could you love the BBC again? 0344 499 1000. But next up, a British delegate to the UN did not vote against slavery reparations. This is total madness. We've got the inside story. Don't go anywhere.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Is illegal immigration now a national emergency? Coming to your calls and texts and voice notes on that shortly. But first, the United Nations think that Britain should pay slavery reparations, and our own representatives abstained in a vote rather than voting against. So has the establishment elite got a death wish against its own country? Who better to ask than a man that always stands up for Britain, the leader of the Social Democratic Party, William Clouston. Hello, William.
Hi, Mark.
Well, it's a shocking story, but hardly surprising that those representing this nation should simply abstain when it comes to the wild scam of reparations.
It is pathetic. This sort of thing's been going on for a long time. And every time the General Assembly of the United Nations makes a decision of this type, the first thing you've got to ask yourself is how many kleptocracies, authoritarian states and general backward countries voted for this. You just have a look at the list. And so the first thing I'd say is I'm not going to be taking moral leadership from these people. I think it's very, very cynical. I think it's been going on a long time. There's been a built-in anti-Western majority on the UN for literally decades, and we need government, we need leaders that will be prepared to stand up. Now, in this particular vote, which I think was highly opportunistic, and I think it doesn't follow at all. I mean, none of the arguments used, I think, are very effective. The people that put it forward should be more concerned with slavery of today, and you only have to look at some of the states that voted for this, where slavery is a major problem. But we need leaders to stand up for it, and only 3 states, Mark, voted against: the Argentinians, the Israelis, and the Americans. I think about 50 states abstained, and then 100 odd voted for this. But I'm hardly surprised, Mark, because the former Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, is one of the many Labour politicians that's in favour of reparations. So what do we expect?
If you support the insanity, the historical illiteracy of slavery reparations, then one can only conclude that you do not like this country.
I think that's fair. Yes, it's very anti-Western. It's against the national interest. And it doesn't follow. Let's just dig into this a bit. Reparation, it's if you look at the Oxford English Dictionary, it's a form of compensation for something you've done, right? Now, I'd be the first to say I've been to Elmina Fort in Ghana when I was working in a hospital in Asafo. I had a look at it, and it's an appalling place. And the transatlantic slave trade is a stain on humanity.
Yes.
However, none of the people that did it are here. And if you were telling me that, say, I'll give you an example, a taxpayer in South Shields or Newcastle should have to fork out for what a particular elite did in the 16 and 1700s, forget it. You can't compensate someone for something you haven't done. It's very clear, very simple.
Also, having slaves is probably the second oldest profession, and every empire participated in it, and almost every nation.
Yeah, that's true. I do think, to be fair, I think the transatlantic slave trade was particularly vile, but
and organised and industrialised,
and organised and mechanised, and Europeans. It's hardly surprising they did it well. It was an appalling thing, but they were highly efficient at it. But remember that the Asante tribes, the big tribe up at Kumasi in the middle of Ghana, were the ones that were supplying them with the slaves in the first place. So Ghana itself, as a state, is not free of blame, if you want to start blaming societies.
Well, African kings put people in cages to be collected from the beach, did they not?
Quite right, yes. And all the smaller tribes were dominated by the larger ones, and it was an appalling trade. But you're quite right to highlight the fact that this UN General Assembly motion only mentions one type of slavery. It was the slavery that the Portuguese and the French, the Spanish and the British were involved in, and the Americans. They only mention that. They don't mention Barbary slave trade. They don't mention the much longer trans-Saharan Arab slave trade. They don't mention anything like that. And they don't mention, and I keep on going back to this, Mark, and we must remember this. You know, the president of Ghana has lectured the General Assembly saying we need to do this to remember. Well, he ought to remember that Ghana has probably about 90,000 slaves in it now, probably more actually, according to estimates. So I'd prefer they think about that, to be honest, instead of singling out a particular type of slavery. And remember, British people should be very, very proud of the fact that we stamped this out uniquely.
At great cost. In blood and treasure, as the saying goes. Most definitely. And we can agree, William, it's a stain on humanity and it's a stain on our history. It's the most vicious, cruel and egregious crime to enslave another human being. It's anathema. Of course it is. But it has been, you know, acted out. It's happened, you know, many countries have done this. As you said, it was industrialised in the colonial era, and that's a source of national shame. But it's got to be like the Holocaust. You learn from it, you make amends, you educate, but you don't need to write a cheque. Otherwise, Jews would be getting a windfall from the Holocaust.
Well, it gets absurd. As I say, I go back to it. I'm not having people write cheques that haven't done anything wrong.
Everyone's dead. You know, the victims are dead. The perpetrators are dead. They're all dead.
Yeah, and in terms of the British working class, you've got to remember, read your history.
Yeah.
You know, people in appalling factory conditions in Leeds, Bradford and Manchester signed petitions and refused to take goods from areas from the, you know, say the southern states of America, to protest against this at their own cost. A lot of people made a lot of sacrifices, but you can't compensate someone for something you haven't done. It's a much broader problem than this, Mark. I mean, I think we have to look at what the United Nations is. And it was very interesting, very telling, I thought, that obviously China and Iran and Russia voted for this again. Russia has a major slavery problem now. You only have to go and look at the Global Slavery Index to see this. China, well, enough said.
Most definitely. William, whilst I've got you on the show, you're the leader of the Social Democratic Party at the moment. What do you make of British politics? What do you make of the direction of travel of the country?
I'm very concerned about it. I think we're very poorly led. I think the ruling elite have a major problem with reality. I think we have a prime minister that can't deal with reality, stuck there with an ideology that is finished. I think I'm very worried about a debt crisis. I think we must urgently increase public investment, and yet we have a state which is just overburdened with entitlements and transfers, which are growing. A lot of young people in their 20s being put on benefits on the scrap heap, and it can't happen. Meanwhile, we've got an energy crisis. So no, we're in real a perilous state, I would say.
And William, you're a reasonable, reflective and considered man. You're not a frothing right-winger, are you? And in fact, some of your policies, your economic policies, could be characterised as on the left. So this doesn't have to be left versus right.
Not really, no. I think it's we look at the national interest primarily. You're quite right. I mean, if you ask us what the state should do, we're probably further to the left of the Labour Party. I want a national railway system. I want the state to get involved in house building. I want houses to become cheaper. I don't see any social value in having expensive rents when people are trying to build families. And I want an energy system. I want grid energy and power generation that's controlled by the state. And I don't want Thames water flogged off for foreigners. I want it owned and controlled by us. So yes, aspects of what the SDP are arguing for are very traditional left, I would say. But we know what a woman is, and we'll put the country first.
And you would drill, baby, drill, and stop the boats?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, take a look at I think we have the toughest and best solution to the Channel migrant crisis, which is as soon as you arrive unsolicited, you get taken to Ascension Island. You will stay there under administrative detention for up to 2 years. The flow would stop. We're not having this. It's a crisis, and the people that govern us don't realise how serious this is. You can't just let people wander into your country. So it's urgent that we do this. If we did what we propose, obviously you've got to get out of all the international legal architecture which prevents you as a nation state doing that. That's basic. We've been saying that for a long time. But what we propose would do it. I promise you, Mark, no one is going to spend €5,000 to go to Ascension.
No, they're definitely not. William, lovely to see you again. It's been far too long. Thank you for your valuable time. William Clouston is the leader of the Social Democratic Party. Is it the right thing for Britain to pay slavery reparations? Grace is in the capital. Hello, Grace.
Hi. I think one of the things I'm finding odd is that there's actually ongoing exploitation of Africa via some Western banks and corporations. So surely the priority would actually be to stop that from continuing. There's far more wealth coming out of the global south to the developed world, including countries like ours, via some of our institutions, than we give in aid. Many times more money comes in the opposite direction to countries like ours. And so what we really need to do is to stop corporations from exploiting some of the least wealthy parts of our world. And we know, for instance, that there are some people in the Congo who are grossly mistreated.
Including sometimes children as young as 12, Grace, standing knee deep in dirt and in a swamp looking for cobalt and other materials for electric cars.
Yeah, it's horrifying, and there's exploitation within the cocoa industry, within the tea industry.
Coffee.
Lots of things that we benefit
and
from.
even, by the way, drugs, which of course are consumed by our woke middle classes.
Yeah, and so what we need to do...
At dinner parties in Islington.
We hear often about our own national debt, right? But the national debt of some of the poorer countries in our world has actually been grossly exacerbated by vulture fund capitalists buying it up with even higher interest rates. And so we need to stop that exploitation.
These are the same corporations, Grace, that don't care about mass immigration because they are profiting.
Well, I think the things that happened in the transatlantic slave trade are so barbaric and horrific. We can't get our minds around it. But what we can't do, unfortunately, is to change that. What we should do is to try to mitigate existing suffering and exploitation. And it'd be great to hear more about how that can be done.
And Grace, I've got another elephant in the room for you, China, who, let's not forget, have bought up half of Africa and are exploiting it like crazy with horrible deals that those communities will never repay.
Yeah, and I'm really upset seeing how the mess that Africa was left in is now being compounded by middle powers getting their claws in there. But as your guest said, we can't kind of repair things that were done by our ancestors, but we should all be conscious of the things that are happening right now.
And also, does anybody, I had a conversation earlier about the expression progressive. The caller said they're not progressive, they're regressive. But what about the sort of be kind crowd who are on X complaining about slavery on their smartphones, a smartphone likely built under slave labour conditions?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't criticise anyone for having a smartphone because, unfortunately, they're kind of necessary in today's society. I always get mine second-hand to avoid giving money to these corporations. But it's pretty impossible to get around having a smartphone now. But we should be making more noise about the current exploitation. We can't ourselves fix history. And, you know... the song Amazing Grace, which is quite well known, was written by a guy who himself was a former enslaver. He was driving, these ships, and he came to see how awful, how terrible what he was doing was, and he repented. And so when he sings about Amazing Grace, and the reason I'm called Grace, is because all of that horrific evil, actually, we need salvation. We need to repent. We need Jesus to take our punishment for us. We can't fix the evils of the past by pretending that paying money to people will resolve it. That human evil is a deep metaphysical weight on humanity, but we need to deal with what we can deal with right now, which is to deal with the problems existing at the moment, whereby corporations are currently exploiting people.
Indeed, I think they are truly wicked. They've got no conscience whatsoever. It's just the profit motive and the bottom line, isn't it? Grace, what an articulate call. Thank you for lifting the level of this debate. And illegal immigration, folks, is it a national emergency? Here's a voice note from Big John.
Hello, Mark. I agree with what everyone said. It's been a national emergency since the first boat that came across. And the trouble is, all the people you have on talking about it are either previous advisors to previous governments and politicians, or politicians from previous governments that have all been a part of what we've come to be today. They've allowed it to happen.
Good point. How can those responsible for the problem possibly fix it? Excellent voice note, John. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? Your call's next.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, do these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, so many messages coming in thick and fast. I'll tell you what we'll do. Given it's radio, why don't I plug my microphone in? You see, that is the magic of Talk. Proof that it's live. I've been working in broadcasting for 30 years, and let me tell you, all of it's fake. Right? Channel 4, BBC, it's all fake. It's real here at Talk. And if you want to see moments like that when the presenter forgets to put their microphone on, just head over to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. Illegal immigration, is it an emergency? Carl is in Liverpool. Hello, Carl.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Hi, thanks very much for calling. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been a problem for a long time now, hasn't it? It's been on steroids since Labour have come in, but obviously the Tories played their part. It's a massive threat to us, not only just how we live, but our culture, our values, what we stand for as British people. Our infrastructure is crippled. We're a country on the downward spiral, and we have a leader that doesn't see anything other than keeping the Muslim vote and making sure his party are all right. You know, we seem to be on the back burner now with everything.
And it would appear with open borders we're topping up that Muslim vote.
Yeah, that's the problem as well with the Green Party, isn't it? Because obviously they're going to take a lot from Labour. I just don't know if we've got another 4 years in us, Mark. You know, I don't think we've got till the next general election to wait for change. Everything that's going on, the marches around the country, how people are feeling.
And the economy, of course, Carl, as well, which is on its knees.
Exactly. We've got this crisis abroad as well. But can I just, you know, a lot of people, when you question this, they call you racist and things like that, and fascist. And I think a lot of what the British people are feeling is anger and resentment towards the people that are coming over on the boats, because they seem to be first and foremost getting seen to before the British people. Now you've got people, the politicians saying that they're going to go into homes, they're already in army bases, where they're going to go from there. British people are now thought of last, and we're the ones paying for it all, and we will continue to pay for this, and our children will continue to pay for this for decades to come, because it's never going to get sorted out quickly. And this is the problem. We haven't got 4 years. We can't wait another 4 years, because Keir Starmer's not going to stop this.
No, and of course his replacement, if it's Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband, could be even worse, Carl.
Yeah, I call them all traitors, and I declare them a national security risk to us, because they are. How can they not stop the boats? Just stop the boats. It's the easiest thing, Mark. You don't have to do a lot to do it. You put the Navy out there. There's your deterrent. That is it. It's done in a day.
And also, if you have a law that says that if you enter the country illegally, you will never receive asylum. And the other thing you could do, Carl, is you could incarcerate these people. So when they arrive, they're locked up.
Well, yes, they're entering the country illegally. Why should they be given anything? They should be turned back.
You know, they wander the streets with pocket money.
Yeah, Mark, my area where
Am I living in a parallel universe here? What the hell's going on?
I know, I can't even give my kids the pocket money I used to give them now, because bills are so tight, you know. It's gone crazy. My area, Mark, has changed dramatically. The other day, I was driving down a road, and I seen a black gentleman in his early 20s wheeling a big, massive pink suitcase and carrying a duffel bag. And I just thought to myself, what can this guy have in a suitcase? You know, what else are we paying for that this guy's walk? I mean, a man doesn't walk around with a pink suitcase.
No,
so
I mean,
know these people are fresh.
No,
we've got HMOs all around the place. You know, it's getting out of hand.
He doesn't sound, that guy with the pink suitcase, Carl, he doesn't sound like a doctor or an engineer to me, which is what the left say these people are. Carl, call me again soon. You made a brilliant, brilliant set of points. Carol's in Warrington. Hello, lovely Carol.
Thank you.
Hey, Carol, listen, I tell you something. Do you remember that beautiful song by Neil Sedaka, Hey, Carol?
Oh, yes. I remember one.
What a tune.
A very naughty boy in the classroom when he was at high school, and the teacher made him stand up and sing it to me.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Neil Sedaka, who sadly only passed a couple of weeks ago, talented man. Anyway, Carol, is illegal immigration, is it an emergency?
Yeah. Oh, God, it has been for a long while, but like everyone else says, this government won't do a thing about it. But I was ringing in about the Norman, I can't remember.
Oh, yes, Norman Baker, who's a former Home Office minister, and he said that these people can come and work in care homes.
Yeah, I used to work in a care home until I gave it up to bring my son up. Half of these... the young men, they're not from this country. They can't speak English, or if they can, it's not very good English. You have to communicate with these people when you're working in a care home. You've got to tell them what you're doing.
I know.
Because you're not giving them tea and biscuits. You're undressing them. You're giving them a body wash in the morning before you dress them. You're giving them baths. So you're doing very
Would it be a problem, Carol?
And a lot of these have got dementia, and you have to tell them what you're doing, because they're panicking when you're taking the clothes off.
And if you can't speak the language, and say what you're doing. And also, is it a problem, Carol, if you've got men who are crossing the channel illegally from different cultures to our own, Afghans, that sort of thing, Eritrea, they may have a different attitude towards women. Are they the right person to administer treatment to a woman?
Definitely not. Like I say, it's a very intimate job. Yeah. You're not giving them tea and biscuits. You're undressing them, you're bathing them, you're bathing them, you're changing them, you're dressing them. But also, I had to have a DBS check before I could work with them. So how would you go and get on for that? Because half of them, they don't even give the real names. So how would you go and DBS check them when they've come from a foreign country?
And also, it's a joke, isn't it? They say that these people will work in care homes. Why don't we use our own people? 10 million folk are not active in the economy at the moment, Carol, of working age. Maybe the answer is to pay care home workers better so that the locals do it rather than foreigners.
It should be. I mean, when I worked, it was mainly women. There was only one guy there that was from an agency if we needed him. So, but they were all, say, in the 30s and 40s. There was no very young girls there. And my son's friend, she went into a care home to do care home work, and she only lasted a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And because of the jobs that you're doing with them, I don't think people realise what an intimate job it is.
No, and it's an important job.
These people as well have got dementia at varying degrees, which is why a lot of them are in there. So, you know, like I say, sometimes when you're doing things, they're freaking out a bit and they're like, why are you doing this? And you say, oh, I'm just getting you ready because we're going to give you a bath. You need a bath. You've not had one for a week. You know, you need a bath. So I had one yesterday. No, you've not, because they think they have. You know, they can eat the tea and you walk past them and they'll say, where's my food? Is it tea time? And they've just literally swallowed it and they can't remember.
Well, Carol,
so
what you've demonstrated...
You can't show people like that into care homes where there's vulnerable, frail old people. It's not fair on the people that are in there.
No, Carol, what you've done there is point out what a high-skilled job working a care home actually is, and you did it obviously with distinction. Carol, I would have loved to have looked after by you because you're a caring and very skilled person, empathetic, very good with those people, as you said, some of them with dementia. It's a very sensitive topic, and yet they're quite happy for someone that's broken into the country illegally to look after grandma or grandpa. Make it make sense. Lots more to come, folks. A busy hour. Is illegal immigration a national emergency?
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, 3 minutes past 2. I'm Mark Dolan, in for the brilliant Ian Collins today and tomorrow. Lovely to have your company. Thanks for the calls, texts and voice notes. Breaking this afternoon as the Prime Minister hits the unwelcome milestone of 70,000 illegal boat crossings since he won power, we can exclusively reveal on Talk that the number of illegal immigrants in taxpayer-funded accommodation for more than a year has risen by 40% since Labour came to power. So my question to you is a simple one this afternoon. We know that illegal immigration is dangerous, it's expensive, and it's dividing our society. Is it now a national emergency? Meanwhile, what's going on with Sir Keir Starmer's former Chief of Staff and the lost mobile phone containing crucial Peter Mandelson evidence? Very convenient, isn't it? Is this the mother of all political cover-ups? And the BBC have got a new Director General. So if they improve their output, had funnier comedies, less woke Doctor Who, more balanced news coverage, could you love the BBC again? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word TALK and your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. And as the saying goes, let's talk. Got to say, the boss today is Finley, and he's doing a brilliant job. And Faith is taking your calls. Directing our TV output is the one and only Luke. No, it's not. Is it Davis? Yeah, we're mixing it up. I've got so many people. It's a cast of thousands today. It's Big Luke. You don't mix him up with Davis. If you do so, you're taking your life into your own hands. If you want to watch the show, including moments where I forget that you need a microphone, even if you're on the telly, then head over to YouTube, search Talking Up. We pop so much to get through. But what about this, folks? Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has said that it is Ed Miliband's decision about whether Britain drills for oil and gas in the North Sea. The Prime Minister claimed that he had no power to approve more licences and insisted that the final call lay with the Energy Secretary. I'm so confused. Who runs Britain? I thought the clue was in the name, Prime Minister. Anyway, here is Starmer trying to explain himself.
Will the Prime Minister approve the licences for Rosebank and Jackdaw gas fields in the North Sea?
Under statute, that is a matter for the Secretary of State, as she knows, because it's the it's the same arrangements that were in place under the last government. Licences were granted. They were then struck down because of the defects in the process of the last government.
Who runs Britain, Keir Starmer or Ed Miliband? Let's get the views of Rupert Darwall, who's the author of the best-selling book Green Tyranny. Hello, Rupert.
Good to be joining you, Mark.
Lovely to have you on the show. First time we've spoken. Rupert, I'm very confused. You're an intellectual. I need you to help me with this. In the middle of an energy crisis, why are we not drilling for the oil and gas on our own shores?
One word, Mark: ideology, green ideology. That is the only reason. Because it defies reason not to drill to maximise your exploitation of your own natural resources and instead pay good money for other people's natural resources. There is simply no justification for doing that.
Was it not the Chancellor a couple of weeks ago, Rupert, that said in an interview that it was the right thing that Norway are actually exploiting more oil because of the current circumstances and the war in the Middle East? She actually praised Norway for drilling for more oil and gas, whilst we, of course, are in stasis.
Yeah, I mean, so the higher oil and gas price is telling markets and the Norwegians that the value of what's under the North Sea has gone up. So therefore, drill, baby, drill. That's the obvious, rational, economic thing to do.
What do you make of the politics of this, with the Prime Minister saying that it's not his call as to whether we drill in the North Sea?
Has there ever been such a demonstration of prime ministerial self-emasculation as what Keir Starmer has said, that he doesn't have the power? We know that in the reshuffle he tried to push to remove Ed Miliband from that job, and Ed Miliband told him to take a running jump, which Starmer did. I mean, it is just he's just demonstrating his own weakness as Prime Minister.
Rupert, net zero will be dead as a project in about 10 years' time, won't it?
Well, I think it's already dead, except in Western Europe and in particular in Britain. I think the big change actually came in 2024 with the re-election of Donald Trump. And if you remember, there was the talk of the vibe shift and how suddenly climate catastrophism, which is a form of moral blackmail. So if you were against wind farms and you were for drilling for oil and so forth, you were actually holding the existence of the planet was under threat and so forth. That suddenly changed. You even have Bill Gates. He produced one of his notes at the time of the last UN climate conference saying, well, we shouldn't be too hung up on emissions. We shouldn't be too hung up on every 1/10 of a degree Celsius of global warming. What really matters is poverty. And that was really the last rites for climate catastrophism, except it hasn't happened here. And the reason it hasn't happened here is because we have the Climate Change Act, which has written into law that we should totally decarbonize our economy by 2050. And that can only be changed. You can't actually amend the act. You can't amend that target within the Act. You have to get rid of the Climate Change Act 2008, which incidentally was seen through the House of Commons by one Ed Miliband.
And it was, I believe, Rishi Sunak in an interview recently who said, Rupert, that he was shocked as Prime Minister to see that the scope of that legislation involved the UK doing more than it needed to in terms of its international obligations. It went beyond the basic elements of a net zero policy. That's how self-destructive it was.
Yes, I mean that the act, when the act was passed, the reason that the justification for the act wasn't to cut emissions. It was actually to show international leadership. It's always been about Britain doing more than anyone else was doing.
So it was optics and politics
and virtue signalling.
Wow.
Absolutely right, Mark.
Go woke, no smoke.
Yeah, go poor. Just bankrupt your country, make everyone feel miserable.
Now, this is another thing I want to discuss with you, Rupert, which is that I believe that policies like open borders and net zero are particularly damaging to poor people at the bottom end of the economic ladder, because it is poor folk that still have to put petrol in their cars and put the heater on in the evening. And of course, they suffer the inflation that comes from net zero policies because of the rising cost of energy. So it strikes me that net zero is particularly anti-working class.
That is absolutely right, Mark. And I'd add to your list that it destroys well-paying, high-paying working class jobs, which we're seeing now across manufacturing industry. We're seeing the steel industry, automotive industry, petrochemical industry. Manufacturing is inherently energy intensive. You push up energy prices, energy costs, you destroy their competitiveness, and you basically put a lot of people out of work. And there's been a lot of reference to this profile of Ed Miliband in the New Statesman recently. And to me, the most interesting thing in it, Mark, was it said this line that says, Ed Miliband wanted to resolve inequality and tackle the climate crisis simultaneously. And there's a choice there. You can't do the two. You either tackle the climate crisis and basically impose massive sacrifices, particularly on working people, or you say we're going to have a pro-growth economy where we expand the economy, that there are more high-paying jobs for working people. You can't have both. It's a choice.
I completely
agree. And that is the
agree.
Fundamental contradiction.
Well, this is it. I mean, illegal immigration doesn't affect people living in Hampstead because there are no migrant hotels there. And the cost of net zero doesn't affect lawyers in Islington. That's the point, isn't it, Rupert? Let's take a listen to the Energy Secretary speaking about the UK and clean energy.
The truth is, our country remains in the grip of fossil fuel markets controlled by petrostates and dictators. That's why our energy bills are so high. There is an answer: clean, homegrown power that we control. But to bring it to people's homes, we need to build the transmission infrastructure to make that happen. Now, we believe that if you live close to that new grid infrastructure, you should see direct benefit in your energy bills. And with the plans we're announcing today, you'll get up to £250 a year off your bills. I know this won't satisfy everyone, but it is a recognition that if you host clean energy infrastructure, you should benefit from it.
Well, that's Ed Miliband talking about clean energy in March 2025, Rupert, and yet our energy bills have not come down. Notwithstanding the war in the Middle East, energy bills remain stubbornly high long before that conflict started.
Well, that little clip illustrates a very important point about renewable energy, is that it needs massively expanded grid infrastructure, about £50 billion worth of new grid infrastructure. Now, who's going to pay for that, Mark? Who's going to pay for that? Yeah. You know who'll pay for it. It's you, me, and businesses and so forth. So it further illustrates the massive contradictions of Ed Milibandism.
Most definitely. Is there a defence to be made of Ed Miliband's policies and of net zero, Rupert? Is there an energy independence argument that if you've got solar panels and wind farms, you're not reliant on international energy markets?
Well, he talks about we can control our own energy, but Ed Miliband, for all his might and so forth, does not control the weather. I mean, it's the King Canute version of energy policy. You don't control the weather, and that's the fundamental. And that's why renewable energy is so expensive, because you need two parallel systems of power generation and power transmission. You need the stuff for the wind and solar farms, and a lot of the wind. The wind farms are in the North Sea, off Shetland, hundreds of miles away from where the power is actually consumed. And the other one is the gas turbines, the normal gas-fired power stations you need when the wind's not blowing, and you need those to keep the lights on. And that is fundamentally why renewables, the more renewables you put on the grid, the higher your cost of energy. You just can't escape that.
Is the answer a mix, Rupert, of green renewables, nuclear and fossil?
No, that's like mixing oil and water. Nuclear is extremely expensive. It's very, very capital intensive. And once you've got it, you want to run it 24/7, 365, and you want to do it for as long as possible, 40, 50 years. You just want to keep it going. If you've got loads of wind and solar, what you're asking nuclear to do is ramp up, ramp down, and so forth. And all that does is make nuclear far more expensive.
Wow.
If you want, it's when people talk about nuclear and wind, it just makes no sense at all.
Renewables are at odds with nuclear power, the production thereof.
Yeah, I mean the best one is actually natural gas-fired power stations, because they're much easier to ramp up and down. But if you really want, here's the real paradox: if you really want energy security, you go for coal. Coal is not only the cheapest way to generate electricity, it's the easiest to transport. You don't need special infrastructure you just have railway lines.
Works for China, coal.
It works, yep. And you don't need special infrastructure to store it. Storing gas is very expensive. It's very difficult to store more than a couple of weeks worth. The stockpiles of coal that the Thatcher government built up ahead of the miners' strike was worth about 6 months of current electricity production. So it's incredible, and it's diverse. You've got massively. It doesn't not 20%. There is 0% of world coal production goes through the Straits of Hormuz.
Oh, that's a good point, isn't it? Rupert, briefly before we go off our separate ways. What about the fact that the planet is heating up? What about pollution? Is that not something that would support net zero?
Well, if it did, Mark, it's worth bearing in mind what I said about the Climate Change Act 2008. The justification was Britain showing leadership. Now, in the 11 years after the passage of the 2008 Climate Change Act, Britain cut its emissions by 1/3. Okay, so it showed leadership. And those very painful reductions in CO2 emissions were wiped out on average every 140 days by emissions from the rest of the world. So it doesn't matter what we do if the rest of the world keeps on burning fossil fuels, which they will do, and more so after this crisis in Iran is over.
Rupert, it's been a privilege to have you on the show. What a fascinating conversation. May I alert my viewers and listeners to Green Tyranny, which is Rupert Darwall's best-selling book about the folly of net zero. What do you think? This from Dave. Wind turbine, recycling and solar panels all goes into landfill. Dave, you're absolutely right. Chris says, Mark, your guest Rupert Darwall is excellent. I read the book Green Tyranny. It's a cracking read. And finally, Paul in Southend. Hello, Mark. Our weak, spineless Prime Minister has just passed the buck on oil drilling to a madman. This country is hurtling towards oblivion. I'm 84 and I'm genuinely afraid for the future of my family after I am gone. Paul, thank you for that. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? This is Talk.
Current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up! I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Lovely to have your company, Mark Dolan, in for the brilliant Ian Collins today and tomorrow. Thank you for your company, your calls, your texts. And we've got some breaking news, which is that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have responded to a major legal decision involving some of the world's biggest tech platforms. Following a Los Angeles jury's ruling that found Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, found them liable for negligence in a landmark social media addiction case, saying essentially that products like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are addictive, just like tobacco. So the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have responded. They said this verdict is a reckoning. They said for too long, families have paid the price for platforms built with total disregard for the children that they reach. We stand with every parent and young person who refused to be silenced. Today, the truth has been heard and a precedent has been set. Let's get reaction now from the doyenne of royal journalism, Angela Levin. Hello, Angela.
Hello there.
So the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they welcome this ruling in a Los Angeles court that
Yes.
the technology companies are essentially producing an addictive product. What's your reaction?
Well, it fascinates me because Instagram is part of it, and Meghan's on it all the time. So what she's taking something against herself? Is she taking something against her own children? And the children are there more than they are wandering around the room. So it sounds extraordinary to do that. Perhaps she just thinks that because it's her, she's above all these things. So, it's just the sort of ordinary people who are in trouble.
So, Angela, are you accusing Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, of hypocrisy?
I am indeed, because every week I see her hypocrisy. It's just part of her. It's like you might clean your teeth, and I might clean my teeth. I do it more than once a week, but I mean, it's just one of those things.
Well, yes, for those that don't know, Angela, because you're one of the world's leading experts on royal news and the royal family, you're Prince Harry's biographer, you knew Harry intimately well. Can you give my viewers and listeners a flavour of just how much Meghan uses Instagram and puts Archie and Lily into her Instagram posts?
Yeah, well, she does it with her children nearly all the time. Harry didn't want it, but she stopped. She didn't like that. But the children, you don't see their face. What you see is either the back of a head or a little girl whose hair changes colour every time you see her and is always from red to brown, and they have not to have their face taken because she doesn't want them. She wants to protect them, but this is what she does, and she wants to show her children more than anything because I think that's what she feels she can make money from. She's quite aware that some people dislike her, so that if she gets girls in or a boy in, she knows that people love to see children. But what it is, it actually has made the public very much against this because she's just using them. But anything that she says, she wants her to be there. And what I got very upset just a few days ago was that she was talking to her little girl and the child started to cry and climbed under the table. And Meghan was, oh, come on. She was laughing away. And Lilibet was left there. And I thought that she didn't make that clear. There might have been another child nearby crying, but I don't think so. What a little child would do that? And she was all shriveled up. Now, I don't think that that's very nice, and I don't think she should do that when she's talking via her, the way she likes to do it, upsetting everybody. And Harry goes around telling people it's very dangerous to let children be on the, see it on the screen. It's absolutely outstandingly difficult. But, his wife's doing it because these things don't matter if it's her.
So she attacks these social media companies. The couple say how dangerous social media is for children and young people. Meghan uses it non-stop for her own commercial purposes, and her children feature in those posts. I mean, this is wild double standards. You said Harry's not happy about this. Is that right? Tell me more about that.
No, well, that's one of the things he's been going round places, both here in America and abroad, telling families that it's very important not to let them on the television, not to let them be seen in these sort of things. It's dangerous. And this is he started doing because they'd set up a charity for people whose children had committed suicide because of these problems. And so that was his aim. But now a lot of people put a picture of Harry in the bottom right-hand corner saying, don't let children do this, don't, it's very dangerous. And it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. And in fact, I think is a safeguarding issue here, isn't there? Because even if you feature Archie and Lily with an obscured face, that probably creates even more curiosity from some people out there who may God forbid, wish the children harm.
Well, yes. But
you're feeding the monster.
I think that it also feels worse that one is 6, one is 4 now. They're not just little kids. They know something must be going on that they can't actually show who they are. When they went to catch some melons from sort of a place, I don't know where it was in America, and all the children had to always have their back to the film. And the little girl, now 4, she was wearing a nappy. And we shouldn't have all seen that. It wasn't very nice. Little child of Meghan talks so much about her children. And she could, a child shouldn't need a nappy at any age after about 2 or 3 the most. So why did she do that? Why did she let her in the sort of clothes that actually you could see that?
It's a wonder, isn't it? Are you concerned about the manner in which the Sussexes are raising their children?
Absolutely, yes.
Because the Sussexes would argue that they're very devoted and they're very focused on their children and their children's well-being. Harry wants to make sure they've got a happy childhood, unlike his own.
Yeah, that's what they feel like. But they haven't got any family. There's only a Meghan's mother that they see. Otherwise, they haven't. And I think it's taking a lot away from a child not to have the stable part of a family, grandparents, cousins, all that sort of thing. They miss that totally. I think that's very, very unkind. And also that they're out and they're travelling a lot, and they have 3 nannies per day. So they have people looking after them. But I don't think that Meghan has the patience to look after a child, really, which is why she says something silly like she's written something for them so that when they're 16 they can read something that she's written for them every single day up to that time. I don't think that's sensible. Why don't you have fun with a little child instead of writing, I love you, you're so I'm looked after you so nicely, I wrote you a book. I don't think that's going to make a child.
Well, that was very odd. She said that she has a daily email which she writes to the children, right. And when they're, as you said, 16 or 18, they'll read the emails for the first time. And she said, I want to be them to know that they've got a great mum, that their mum loves them. No mention of Harry in regard to these daily emails.
No mention of Harry, but also I don't think a child will want to do that. When they're 16 and 18, they'll be either studying, they'll be running around with their friends. They won't sit down there for piles and piles of pieces telling them what their mother thought about them. You see, this is part of the me thing, isn't it? Never mind them. It's their mother that's got to be known, and she's got to be the one who says. I think Harry probably has played sport with them, football and things like that, with Archie. But I think she's really the lead.
I think what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. You mentioned patience or lack of it on the part of Meghan.
Yes.
Do you think she's cut out for motherhood?
No. it's about herself, isn't it? It's about herself. When she goes to talk in a podcast or anything like that, she's me, 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 me. It's not telling her, oh, my child was so funny yesterday when she said this joke or when her tooth came out. She mentioned the tooth. No, I'm wrong there. She mentioned the tooth. She was very excited about that. But usually it's not actually telling them about her children. It's actually telling them about her and how tired she gets and that she has to go to the school and she has to come back. Well, I think that's what most of us have to do when you've got a child.
Angela, before I let you go, you're a best-selling royal biographer. What do you make of Tom Bower's new book, Betrayal?
Well, I just bought it. I got it this morning because it only came up today. So I haven't read it all yet, but I know Tom very well, and he's very clever in that he uses words that can keep him out of trouble as much as possible. Now, this one interesting thing phrase he said, is that he, how did he express it? Yes, Harry had a baby boy. And he goes, Harry had a baby girl. Now, if you look at them and read them, who gives birth to a baby? Meghan. He doesn't mention her at all. So are you wrong to think that somebody else held the baby and he just took what's needed from Harry? I don't know that, but that's quite an interesting thing to say.
So you're pointing out that that there are some theories out there that Meghan was not the mother of the two children, which of course is a view robustly challenged by the Sussexes. But yes, there are people out there that think that Meghan did not have the children, and you're suggesting Tom Bower is keeping that door open.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I might be wrong, but I can think so. And the other ones I just saw about Omid Scobie, and Tom says that Meghan did tell him a lot, and also another man took lots from Harry. Now that's interesting, because if somebody said, did you talk to Omid? He said, no, I didn't, says Harry, but he talked to someone else. So you have to be a sort of detective to work that out.
And read between the lines.
Quickly, I haven't been able to get through the whole book. But, yeah.
Well, I'm going to need your analysis. Perhaps you'll be available over the weekend because I'm on air this weekend, Angela. We'd love to have you back. An elite-level journalist and broadcaster, Harry's biographer, no less, the remarkable Angela Levin. More to come. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is 3:37. Mark Dolan with you in for the brilliant Ian Collins today and tomorrow. Kevin O'Sullivan is live at 4. I'm going to take your calls on illegal immigration in just a few minutes' time. But first, I'm delighted to welcome into the studio a very, very astute man, a very, very authoritative man, Sean Keach, Head of Science and Technology at The Sun newspaper. Hi, Sean.
What an incredible introduction. That's very generous.
Well, I should blinking hope so. Listen, you know your onions. We're in the age of technology. So many stories to get through. Maybe a quick reaction to a conversation I've just had with Angela Levin, who is a royal biographer. And it's the Sussexes responding to a verdict of an LA court saying that some of the social media companies are responsible for producing an addictive product not dissimilar to smoking. Are you concerned about that verdict, or is it common sense?
No, I think it is. I think it is common sense. I think it's been a particularly difficult week for Zuckerberg. It's not the only ruling that he's faced
and
this
of course,
week.
he owns Facebook. He's the owner of Meta.
Yes, which owns Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. So, I mean, billions of people around the world using these apps. And yes, you're completely right. So they've been fined. This one's in a New Mexico court, the $365 million.
Oh, okay.
And that is about teen mental health. And then there's another lawsuit that was in LA, which is a woman who argued that Zuckerberg had specifically damaged her mental health. She said that she had body dysmorphia issues. They said that the apps were like addiction machines. She had issues with her physical appearance, anxiety, depression, and she's being paid $6 million, which is an incredible sum of money. And that's a personal lawsuit, so that money is going to her. And so the idea is that maybe this will set precedent for other people to sue Meta and say, well, you damaged my mental health. Can I have a little bit of money?
Doesn't this infantilise all of us, though? Because I think you'll find that custard cream biscuits are quite addictive, as is Kronenbourg 1664 and other beers are available. That almost anything pleasant and enjoyable, it requires self-discipline to not overconsume.
You're absolutely right, and I think it is probably very easy to just blame Mark Zuckerberg for a lot of our woes. But you're right, you know, the fact that these algorithms work so successfully, I mean, they prey on the things that we like, that we desire. And, you know, ultimately, I suppose you are partially to blame if you go on those apps. The problem is when it's kids. And this is the difficulty, because parents don't necessarily have total control over what their kids are doing online. I mean, any parents out there will know that you can try your best, but it doesn't necessarily work. And so these platforms do have some responsibility, especially if they're allowing young kids on without properly checking whether they're adults. And so if you're affecting the mental health of a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, that's a different story to whether you or I are becoming depressed because of Facebook.
Is it the fault of... Because I don't know if you're a Lambert and Butler man or a Benson and Hedges chap, but I doubt you smoke at all, because if I look at you, your body's clearly a temple.
Thank you, I try.
It's not the fault, is it, of Marlborough or Benson and Hedges if a 15-year-old gets hold of a cigarette?
No, you're absolutely right. And this is why these court cases are very, very difficult. And, you know, ultimately, these are cases in America. If we had similar cases here, the judges might rule differently. It's going to be interesting to see how more cases like this play out in the US, whether, you know, we get massive class action lawsuits because of this, whether more people apply for payouts effectively from Meta. But I think they'll certainly be worried. I suppose the difficulty is that, you know, even though they might get more of these lawsuits, ultimately Meta makes so much money, significant sums of money, you know, tens of billions every quarter. And so the fact that they've paid this woman $6 million and then the other fine in New Mexico was $350 million, it really is, you know, a drop in the ocean compared to the money they're making.
Most definitely. It's well reported that some of the pharmaceutical giants took the view that fines for faulty or damaging medication were still more profitable than actually not having released the product in the first place, which is quite damning, isn't it?
It is, and absolutely.
Follow the incentives.
$6 million is almost nothing compared to Meta. You know, that's probably a few minutes' work, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I'm sort of torn on it, because I think that, for example, it's not great for under 16s to be on social media. It is addictive, the endless scrolling. They don't have the sort of robust, you know, self-control that perhaps you do when you're an adult. But actually, I think even it's tough for adults as well. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but if I'm watching a streaming show like, let's say, Netflix or Apple TV Plus, I get to the end of an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm immediately offered the next one, and I've got a few seconds to switch it off before it fires up. So, you know, they are rather cunning. Maybe not illegal, but perhaps unethical.
No, and I think the problem
make it stop with the entertaining shows.
Well, this is with short form content, it's even more intense because I feel like you even have less control of what you're seeing. It's just flying at you. You're not necessarily searching for specific things, and so you're right. It's hard. I mean, I found myself just scrolling endlessly, and I'm like, where did that last hour go? I've just watched stupid TikTok videos for an hour. It's difficult.
It's a hard one to get right. Apple are doing something about young people online, aren't they?
Yes, in fact, you're probably going to see this pop up this week. So it's tied into the new iOS update, iOS 26.4. You might have got it this morning, yesterday morning, but they're age checking everyone in the UK. If you have an iPhone, your iPhone will get this automatic update, and then you'll be presented with a pop-up that will ask you to verify your age. And if you don't verify your age, you'll be shut out from certain features. So it's going to block you from accessing adult websites in Safari. It also turns on a feature called communication safety, which is if you receive a sort of saucy image over messages or someone stripping off on FaceTime, that will be blurred if you haven't verified that you're an adult. Now, the difficulty with this system is that they're not accepting passports, and no one really seems to know why. So you can upload credit card information or your driving license, but passports aren't accepted. So it shuts out people who don't necessarily have a credit card or a driving license, which when I'm looking at the comments, it seems to be a lot of people, so it's difficult. Some people won't be able to pass this block initially.
A social media ban for teens in the UK. They've tried it in Australia. Will it work here?
Oh, God, it's so difficult. The government is consulting. I think that consultation wraps up at the end of May. They're doing a big trial to see if it will work on about 300 kids. It's very difficult because, obviously, they've tried it in Australia. Here, the children's charities are saying it's a bad idea, which is interesting because you would think they would be fully on board with blocking teens from social media, but they're saying that it cuts them off from the help, and actually really the onus should be on the social media companies to make their platforms safer rather than just doing a sweeping ban. I mean, social media does get a bad rap, and often rightfully so. There's also a lot of beneficial content. Kids use it to revise. It can provide support systems if you're in maybe a marginalised group. And so it's difficult to say necessarily we should ban it all for all kids. And this is the view that, say, the NSPCC takes. They're very against a mass ban. But the government is unsure and they're trialling it.
I haven't briefed you on this, but I know you'll be across it. Matthew Goodwin is a former Reform Party prospective parliamentary candidate at the Galton and Denton by-election. He's just written a book about immigration and about modern Britain, and he's received criticism because he's credited ChatGPT within the book on the list of credits, but he's still been condemned for allowing too much AI within the sort of body of the book itself. Are we going to see more of this? How many in the future? How will we know if a book's really been written by the author?
I mean, Amazon is being absolutely flooded with fake books. We're seeing it on Spotify as well. They're having a real problem with people uploading AI songs. And it's immensely difficult to know. And even, I mean, you can ask AI whether something has been generated by AI, but it doesn't necessarily know. And so it's such a nightmare. I think it's going to be easier to authenticate when something is legitimate rather than fake. I think you'll have to have watermarks to say this hasn't been touched, this hasn't been edited, and then if it is edited by AI, that seal breaks. But it's very difficult. I mean, you can scroll on TikTok, you can scroll on YouTube, you'll see loads of fake stuff, and it's so good now that you can't necessarily tell. And I think books are especially nefarious because these AI systems, they learn on what's come before, and so there's no novelty, there's no newness or creativity, which is part of the joy of reading a new book. And you think about some of the best books ever, you think, well, AI could never have come up with that, and I think it's quite tragic for creativity.
I completely agree. Elton John turned 79 yesterday, and I don't think a computer could decide to say Benny and the Jets because there's no reason why he decided to go at the beginning of that, and the rest is history.
Well, I think Bohemian Rhapsody is the perfect example of such a mad song, and I just don't think AI could have come up with anything like that. Obviously now it's seen it, it could replicate it, but to create a song like that that's so chaotic,
it broke all the rules.
Yes.
And
that's the beauty of it.
They couldn't believe it was a hit. Was it 7 minutes, 8 minutes long?
Yeah, and you know, brilliant song. And would ChatGPT have done that? I doubt it.
Most definitely not. There's also no ChatGPT replacement for Sean Keach, right? One thing, though, in competition for your eyes and ears as well as mine is HBO Max. It's a new streaming service. It's arrived in the UK today. Is it worth the money, do you think?
Oh, difficult. It's a massive household name in the US. So if you're in the US, you'd say absolutely brilliant service. Here, it's being wrapped into Sky, so you might already be getting it for free. If you have a Sky Ultimate TV package, you'll just get HBO Max thrown in. I think probably the big seller for HBO Max is going to be the Harry Potter series. It's coming out at Christmas this year. They put out a big trailer yesterday, 2 minutes of Harry Potter TV series footage. I watched it. I thought it was pretty good, actually. I think it's shaping up to be a good series.
I think it's about time J.K. Rowling made some money. Actually,
she's on the bread line.
Yeah, I think it's let's put some cash into her account. What about before we let you go, kidfluencers? Fury as Argos sells 15 quid influencer kit for toddlers, complete with toy camera, phone and a ring light.
It's got a little ring light, it's got a phone, it's got a camera. It's very bizarre. Parents are obviously up in arms. I think it's about 15 quid. It's part of Argos's Chad Valley range. It's creative play, so it's not a real smartphone. The ring light won't light up. It is just so you can pretend to be an influencer, a bit like, a sort of fake oven or something that you would play with as a kid, or, bows and arrows. It's that sort of thing. Parents are saying, should we be teaching kids as young as 2 that they should be taking selfies for a career? It's difficult because, being a creator can be extremely lucrative, and the job market isn't particularly good now. So a lot of kids will be looking at this thinking, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go.
Most definitely. And last but not least, Sun Club is excellent. It essentially allows you to find some really great exclusive content at the Sun newspaper. And they've done a piece on 10 ways that you can make shopping on Amazon cheaper. You able to give us 1 or 2 tips?
Yeah, so Sun Club, brilliant. It's $1.99 a month. You get loads of exclusive content. We've done this big piece on Amazon shopping tips. One of them is, if you're having a baby, they have a baby wish list service, and you get 15% off your basket up to £2,000.
Love
so you can save 300 quid straight off the bat. They also have 2 stores, Resale and Renewed. They're pretty hard to find. They're not obvious, but if you go on there, you can get products that have been sent back or products that have been returned and then restored, and you get them at discounted prices. So you can say, if you're buying a laptop, you get hundreds of pounds off. Really good.
The Sun is #1 for science and technology journalism, courtesy of their big man, the main head honcho, Sean Keach. Sean, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to seeing you very, very soon. So much more to come. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? Your call's next.
Current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up! I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You're listening to Talk. Mark Dolan with you in for Ian Collins today and tomorrow. Then, of course, I'm back Saturday and Sunday for breakfast. And I'm doing Monday breakfast as well. So it's all happening. It's great to be here. Is illegal immigration a national emergency? David is in Coventry. Hi, David.
Hi, Marcus. Yes, of course it is. It has been I believe it's been a national emergency for at least 10 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
But our political class, and by that I mean virtually everybody, there are a few voices in the wilderness, or have been, virtually every politician in the Uni Party, which is Tories, Labour, or con-socialists as I call them now, Labour, the Greens, the Lib Dems, and so on and so forth, they have all betrayed this country. They are traitors. They have not cared about what effect mass immigration is having on the country. And if you look at every major issue and problem this country has, almost without fail, the root or a major contributor has been mass migration. Everything from potholes in the roads caused by a number of people on the roads, number of cars, congestion on the roads, the NHS, getting a doctor's appointment, getting a dentist's appointment, schools, the whole 9 yards, whatever you care to mention. Mass immigration has had a detrimental effect, and a drastic detrimental effect. And I do believe that the people who are responsible for this are our political class, together with the institutions, and they should be considered to be traitors, because the people that fought for our freedom 80 or 90 years ago would have been utterly, utterly disgusted. Well, in fact, if the political class of today had lived back then and tried the stunt, well, they wouldn't have tried the stunt, because they would have known that the result would have been them swinging on the end of a rope.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I've always said, David, that mass uncontrolled immigration is the theft of a nation from its own people.
Exactly. We have had mass immigration. It has, in effect, been an invasion which has led to colonisation of some of our cities.
David, what would you say to someone that would argue that the word invasion is inflammatory or racist?
I would say to them, it's truthful. If you can't cope with the truth, then go away to some other country in the world where they have something that's more to your liking with regards to truth. It's quite simply being truthful.
Great call. David, I wish we had longer. Promise and call me again at the weekend. Let's continue that conversation. Thank you, David. Jason's in Wiltshire, in the West Country. Hello, Jason.
Good afternoon, Mark. Thank you for taking the call.
Well, thank you for calling. What do you think? Oh, you want to talk about net zero, don't you?
Yeah, we're on net zero, yeah.
Why are we not drilling for oil and gas in the middle of an energy crisis? I don't understand.
Well, before I start, I took Mr. Miliband's advice. I've been to the local German supermarket. I've bought my solar panel. I've been trying to boil my kettle since yesterday morning, since installing it. It's not doing too good.
It's not great. It's still an iced tea.
I've not managed to make a cup of tea yet, so I don't know what I've got to do to make it work.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, mate. I won't hold my breath on that one. That's the point, though. It makes no sense, net zero.
No, it's just, I really cannot understand this government in general. I mean, old Comrade Starmer, he should be our leader. He should be making the country, prosper. We should be doing well. But he seems, I don't know if he's just an idiot and don't realise he's doing it, but everything that he does, he cocks up. He makes it worse. Where he says he can't do nothing with net zero, surely he's the man in charge. He can oversee and see what's going on. And appointing that psycho Ed Miliband as our environment secretary, whatever it is, I mean, he could soon get shot of him if he wanted to.
Well, he should. It would be in the national interest. But, Jason, there's talk of him being Chancellor under Prime Minister Rayner. Jason, I think that's the first time we spoke. Give me a call again soon. Enjoyed your company. Chris is in Portsmouth. Hello, Chris.
Hello there, nice to be on your show.
Great to have you on, young man. We talked about the BBC earlier. They've got a new Director General. If they get their programmes right, some funny comedies, less woke, balanced news, could you love the BBC again?
I think I could love the BBC again. I think it would be a real shame to lose the BBC. You know, the old saying, woke goes broke. We've got a woke in our politics. We've got woke in our Church of England, and it's doing away with the history and our heritage as a country and as a nation. And I think the BBC is really important, and we need to keep it for our country. I think it's a part of our identity. It's part of who we are, and I think it would be a really shame if the BBC go woke and go broke and we lose it. I think we need it as a part of who we are, and I think it needs to be with us for a long time to come.
Big Chris, how would you fix it?
Well, again, this is ideological. So, again, you have to fix this like all things from the top down. If we have people that are, you know, good managers and are not ideologically swayed but just want to do a good job at the end of the day and hire people for their skills, not based on what boxes they tick, I think slowly but surely we could save the BBC.
Because, Chris, 30 years ago, we loved the BBC. Only Fools and Horses, Blue Peter, the original Doctor Who, classic stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, let's not forget as well that the founder's influence, John Rees, he was the son of a Scottish Presbyterian minister, and they believed that the BBC should promote the stated and official religion of the country as well. And these are all things that have been lost. And it's such a shame that the BBC, you know, let's not forget things like the King George's speeches through the Second World War. Yeah. BBC has been with us for over 100 years, and I think it needs to come back to really its original premise and what it was founded for, which is for the British people, and Christianity again, and even from a cultural point of view, needs to be brought back into that as well.
Yes, because, Chris, I was walking past Broadcasting House the other day, which is an iconic building that stayed on air throughout the war. But as I walked past it the other day, Chris, it didn't really feel like it belonged to me anymore. As a British citizen, it felt like its own thing.
No, definitely. I think it's come loose from its anchor. I was on the Moral Maze programme a few weeks ago, and, you know, I was being, because I'm a vicar, I was being really challenged for my Christian views by actually a C of E vicar, Giles, on the programme. And it just made me realise, actually, with great sadness, just how far the BBC has strayed into woke progressiveness rather than just non-biased reporting, which would be great if it could get back to at least that.
Chris, your congregation are lucky to hear your words of wisdom on a weekly basis.